Great. All right, good evening. The time is now 6:34 p.m. I'm Chairman Mike Curry, and I'd like to call this Select Board Organization and Business Meeting to order on this 24th day of June 2020. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that not only are we being live streamed on the YouTube web platform, but the entire proceeding this evening, except any executive sessions, are being recorded for both TCTV Cable Station 8 and later viewed on the TCTV YouTube channel. Just to do a quick roll call, I see Terry Griffiths, we have Carter Terenzini, along with Adam LaMontagne, Jeff Bennett, Tim Toth, Julie Richard, Holly Young, and a host of other guests for this evening. Thank you. I'd like to give quick congratulations to our returning Select Board member, Jeff Bennett. Congratulations. And a warm welcome to our newest member, Timothy Toth. Thank you.
Welcome. Congratulations, Jeff.
As always, our agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law, and it's publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonma.gov. Although I have discretion as chairperson to add and remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I reserve the right to move agenda items around to best fit our business and guests. Thank you. So for over about 3 months now, we've met remotely. Public comment, as you know, is still possible via the chat section of the live stream on YouTube. I and TCTV, as well as anyone else that goes on the application, are monitoring the chat section and will address comments and questions as they appear or when appropriate. Remember, this chat area is part of the permanent record, so please state your name and optionally your street, as you would during town meeting if you wish to participate. Please remember, most YouTube names, the reason why we ask that, most YouTube names are informal or could be just avatars. This is a right afforded to residents of the community. Non-residents may watch, but may submit any questions in writing through the town website for processing. And just to let you know that the live chat is 10 to 20 seconds behind the actual live meeting. So if we don't get to your question right as we're debating or deliberating on something, we will circle back to make sure that the public comment is incorporated. Okay, just a couple quick Zoom rules of the road. Please use video when possible. Please use the mute feature when you're not speaking. Although TCTV and I can place any and all on mute, it is much easier if you control your own mute button, and it makes it a lot easier for others to be heard. If you wish to see material shared in the screen, please request that of me. You can email, text, or otherwise, or just raise your hand and ask if you want to see something. I will mostly follow along in the meeting and show any of the documents that we have for viewing. This will help everyone stay synchronized and be helpful to the viewing public. And just myself and TCTV are able to share items. Actually, I think everybody's able to share items. If you wish to speak, just raise your hand. You can use the raise hand feature in Zoom, or just politely break in if you're on telephone. Viewers of the live stream may ask questions that may be acknowledged by the chair or any other member that may be monitoring the YouTube live stream chat area. Great. Housekeeping is out of the way. Okay, as I had stated, this is not only a business meeting, but we just had our town meeting and town election 2 days ago. So this is an actual organization meeting. So we have a few, let's see, a new call in. If you've called into the meeting and your telephone is ending in 3035, please identify yourself.
Lisa DeRusso, Templeton Fish and Game Club.
Okay, there you go, Sean. Okay, and as the TCTV had pointed out, in attendance but without video is Cheryl Casper, Emma Hughes, Julie Richard, and Adam LaMontagne. They're just on, they're on the telephone or not using video. Amanda Sudazi has basically said on chat that she's there as a rep from the Conservation Commission. Okay, the first item up is our ceremonial swearing in of new board members. Mr. Terenzini, we have a representative from the Clerk's Department.
Yep, Cheryl Casper here.
Great. Cheryl, would you please do the honors?
Sure. Could I have Timothy and Jeff Bennett, please?
Yep, they're both on and they're paying
Okay.
attention.
Okay, do you please raise your right hand? Do you and please state your names?
I, Timothy Toth,
Jeff Bennett, already been sworn.
Swear that you will faithfully and impartially, according to your best skill and judgment, perform the duties of selectman for the town of Templeton.
I do.
Yes,
Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you, Cheryl.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank
And
you.
just to point out to the people watching the live stream, Tim and Jeff were previously sworn in and have gone through a lot. Jeff's returning to the select board, but Tim's gone through a lot of his indoctrination meeting with people. And as Jeff was just about to say, that they've already been sworn in, but this is a ceremonial swearing in so that the public can see that. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay, we've got our organizational actions. We must organize ourselves as a select board. It is a new election year. And for this evening, we must elect a new chairman, vice chairman, clerk, and the liaisons to all of our committees and adopt our fiscal 21 meeting schedule. And I can, as we go through those, I'll definitely put the meeting schedule on there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mrs. Richards.
I move to appoint Mike Curry as chairman of the board.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing no further discussion on the motion to install Mike Curry as chairman of the select board that has been seconded. How do you vote, Mr. Bennett?
Yeah, I'll fall in behind the major.
Mr. Toth,
Yes.
Mrs. Richard,
Absolutely, you've done a fantastic job.
Mrs. Griffiths.
yes.
Okay, and here on, if no one else has any objections, oh, and I vote yes as well. Thank you. From here on out, I will refer to all the select board members with their first name, unless there's an objection to that. And Mr. Toth, do you go by Tim? Do you mind going by Tim?
Yeah,
Tim is fine.
Okay, great, thank you.
yep.
Okay, next item is for vice chairman. I move to appoint Jeff Bennett as vice chair of the board.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
he just said he'd fall in behind the major. You got your wish.
Hearing no further discussion on the motion to appoint Jeff Bennett as vice chairman of the select board, how do you vote? Jeff?
Yes,
Tim?
Yes.
Julie?
No,
Terry?
Yes,
And I vote yes. Okay, next position is clerk. I move to appoint Julie Richard as clerk of the board.
second,
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to appoint Julie Richard as clerk of the select board. How do you vote, Jeff?
yes,
Tim,
Yes.
Julie,
yes,
Terry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Okay, moving into the liaisons and committees. I move to appoint Terry Griffiths to the Capital Planning Committee for a term to expire June 30th of 2021.
second,
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing no further discussion on the motion to appoint Terry Griffiths to the Capital Planning Committee for a term to expire June 30th, 2021. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julie,
yes,
Terry,
Sorry, yes.
and I vote yes as well. Okay, next is our educational liaison, and that's to both Monty Tech and the Narragansett Regional School District. I move to appoint Tim Toth as the educational liaison for a term to expire in June 30th of 2021.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no further discussion on the motion to appoint Tim Toth as educational liaison to the Narragansett Regional School District and Monty Tech for a term to expire in June 30th, 2021. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julie,
yes,
Terry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you. Okay, next is a representative to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission for a term to expire in next June. I move to appoint Jeff Bennett to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission for a term to expire June 30th of 2021. That would be a reappointment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Just pausing for any discussion. Okay, hearing nothing further on the motion to appoint Jeff Bennett to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission for a term to expire June 30th, 2021. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julie,
abstain,
Terry? Terry, I didn't hear your vote.
Yes, sorry, my other phone's ringing.
Oh, sorry. And I vote yes. Great. Okay, next we're assigning is a representative to the Montechusett Metropolitan Planning Organization for a one-year term. I move to appoint Jeff Bennett to the Montechusett Metropolitan Planning Organization for a term to expire June 30th of 2021.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none on the motion to appoint Jeff Bennett to the Montechusett Metropolitan Planning Organization for a one-year term to expire June 30th of 2021. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julie,
yes,
Terry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you. Next is two appointees to the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee, also for a one-year term, June 30th of 2021. I move to appoint Tim Toth and Terry Griffiths to the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee for a term to expire June 30th of 2021.
second,
I have a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none on the motion to appoint Tim Toth and Terry Griffith to the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee for a term to expire June 30th of 2021. How do you vote, Jeff?
yes,
Tim?
yes,
Julie?
yes,
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, second to last, we've got our Templeton Development Center Visioning Committee, also for a one-year term.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Julie.
I would say Mike Curry and Julie Richard to the Templeton Developmental Center Visioning Committee for a term that expires 6/30/21.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing no further discussion.
actually, that one's kind of confusing. I was almost gonna make a motion to have that one be defunct because it's a visioning committee, but there's no real interest, to my knowledge.
if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, please, Carter, go ahead.
This is not a town committee. It is one established by the state a number of years as it began the deinstitutionalization of many of the folks at the development center. This is a committee which has not met frequently in the last 4 years, if at all. But hopefully we can get the state to move along. Because once they determine which portion of the property they want to retain for state use, there will be a substantial amount of, hopefully, developable lands left. The task of this committee will be to help the state and a hopefully retained soon master planning firm to look at that substantial land that remains that the state will not use, and to try to vision how it might be reused for economic development to benefit the community. While it has been somewhat dormant, I do think that we need to have folks ready and able to attend any meeting should they be called because of the potential for economic development, which we all agree we need to help move the community forth financially.
Okay, it's mostly the committee is mostly talking about development and real estate rather than any other facilities. So I assume that Julie's connection doesn't have anything to do with it.
Not a problem that I can see from here at this moment.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, please go ahead, Julie.
just to make the record state, in fact, I have been on that committee
Okay,
already, and we already checked with legal counsel in regard to that.
oh, perfect. Thank you for stating that.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none on the motion to appoint Julie Richard and Michael Curry to the Templeton Developmental Center Visioning Committee for a term of 1 year to expire in June 30th of 2021. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes,
Tim?
yes,
Julie?
Yes,
Terry?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Okay, last for our committees is the Senior Center Oversight Committee, also for 1 year.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Julie.
I nominate Mike Curry and Julie Richard to the Senior Center Oversight Committee for a term to expire 6/30/21.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
second,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing no further discussion on the motion to appoint Julie Richard and Michael Curry to the Senior Center Oversight Committee for a 1 year term expiring 6/30/2021. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
yes,
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Thanks, Julie. It looks like I'm going to be pretty busy.
You're very welcome, Mike. I know you can do the job well.
That last one's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. Okay. That's the last that we have for committee appointments. Just want to make sure that I've got the like to be able to post as we vote for our meeting schedule. I would like to put that on, put that up. If I can find it. It was on my desktop. Sorry. There we go. Now I got it. Okay, everyone should have a copy of the FY21 meeting schedule.
Mr. Chairman, if I might make an observation,
Yep, thank you, Carter.
just to point out that I think everyone liked the model of last year or two even, in which we did all of the budget meetings on a Saturday, and then we had a Monday night to kind of follow up on questions and the like. And this follows that model from the last 2 years.
Thank you. Anyone have, well, let me get a motion out there. I move to accept the Selectmen's meeting schedule for fiscal year 2021 as presented in the agenda packet and as depicted on the screen.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone have any thoughts on the schedule for the summer, the retreat? You'll notice that the retreat is there in, I know it says retreat. Carter, where does it say the annual retreat?
September.
Okay, yep, BOS retreat. I'm sorry, September 2nd. Which is a Wednesday evening. And barring any changes, November looks like it's arranged. You can see the way that November is arranged for our fall town meeting, and the end of the year is for a normal end of the year, not like the unorthodox end of year that we've had for 2020. Oops. Hopefully I'm not jumping around too much, but everyone had this in their packet. I just wanted the public to be able to, at least the public can pause. I don't need to keep these things up too much, but they can pause if they want to see some of the dates or otherwise that we talked about. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none on the motion to approve the FY21 Select Board meeting schedule. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
yes,
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Quick chime in on our YouTube chat that Scott Dill says he's looking forward to working with this new board in the future. Exclamation point. Thank you, Scott. Okay. At this time, is there any public comment for anyone that we have online with us in Zoom or in the chat area? Under public comment, I will read the greater or the larger chat item that Amanda Susie had said earlier. She's attending this evening as a rep for the Conservation Commission. We are concerned about the amount of wetland area on the Willow Street property. And she says you can read this when that property comes up in the agenda. Again, the full packet is available online, but I'm glad I read that during public comment. That way, her concern is on the record in the appropriate place in the meeting, even ahead of time. Any further public comment? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on in the agenda. Next item, just a couple of housekeeping items as well. We have meeting minutes from the June 10th special meeting and the June 10th business meeting, as well as executive session minutes from a special executive on June 10th and a special business on June 10th. So just for clarification, the special meeting occurred prior to the regular business meeting. And in each case, they were they were preceded by an executive session. So each of those, the special meeting and the business meeting, had an executive session either directly before it or directly after. So I can entertain any motions on accepting those minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of 6/10/20 special meeting, 6/10/20 business meeting as presented.
I have a motion.
second,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes for this, both the special meeting and the business meeting of June 10th? Okay, hearing none on the motion to approve the minutes for June 10th, both special and business meeting. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
abstain,
Okay. Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
yes,
And I vote yes as well. Excellent. May I have a motion for the executive session minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the executive session minutes of 6/10/20 special meeting and 6/10/20 business meeting, both to be released to the public.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the executive session minutes for the special and the business of June 10th and to be both to be released to the public. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. On the motion to approve those executive session minutes, how do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
abstain,
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
yes,
And I vote yes. Holly, I know it came through garbled, but you heard Tim said abstain?
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, our minutes are complete. We're going to move now into our new business. We're getting inching closer to the grid of people that we have on with us this evening. First item are any introductions. Mr. Terenzini, we have any introductions this evening?
We do have one this evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure if she's with us by phone or by video, but Emma Hughes, who was the valedictorian of the Narragansett Regional High School class of 2020 and has been in the top of her class each of her 4 years, will be joining us as an administrative intern, working in a variety of offices. She has been accepted into Harvard College, but will be deferring this year due to the COVID events. Emma worked with us on assembling the graphics for your tax deed package, and she has inventoried the needed information this past week on 23 roadways that had never been submitted by the town to the Chapter 90 program. Future projects will be a complete assessment, working with me, of all of our tax lien properties and the inventory of town-owned property to determine how we can accelerate moving these tax lien properties through the foreclosure process and determine what, if any, of the inventory of town-owned lands might be suitable for sale, not only for the purposes of revenue, but for the purposes of getting them back on the tax rolls. That is Miss Emma Hughes. And again, I don't know if she's with us by phone or by video.
She is.
In the office, and if you get a chance, please,
Yep.
please introduce yourself to her.
Absolutely. Carter, Emma's on with us this evening. She's connected through Zoom. I've certainly seen some of the NRSD posts about her accomplishments. I saw the other awardee working at Lee's Hot Dog Stand for the summer. So that's, I don't know which, working for the town, working for a hot dog stand, I don't know which one's better, but I'd have to say both are pretty, got some pretty good fringe benefits to go along with it. Emma, congratulations. The list of achievements that you're getting under your belt are quite impressive. And I'm certainly glad that you're going to be, you've already helped us a bunch. I'm just very happy that you're going to be working with us again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other board members have any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Absolutely, Julie, go ahead.
Emma, we would love to welcome you and congratulate you on all of your fine accomplishments. Stay strong, class of 2020.
Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard.
And that is the only introduction we have for you this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you very much. Emma, feel free to stick around if you'd like to. Otherwise, we're super happy that you joined us this evening. Sorry you can't hit the books as soon as you want to. Sorry about the deferment, but that's a pretty exciting time. So congratulations, welcome aboard.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.
All right, good night. Okay, we have our introductions. I believe we have one appointment this evening. Mr. Terenzini, is that correct?
That's my understanding, Mr. Chairman. It is for the Economic Development Industrial Corporation.
I just have a quick question. Is it a reappoint? Because he was already.
Yes, he's on the commission now, so this would be a reappointment.
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question on that.
Yes, go ahead.
Is there a Board of Selectmen on that committee as well? Because that was not one of our options.
I'm on it.
Yeah,
So-
I don't recall that roster. I'm sorry.
We appointed Mike last week, wasn't it?
I'm on it, Julie.
Yes.
As far as a reappointment, I don't recall my expiration date or otherwise, but I am the representative, And I know that Mr. May had sent a question about that as well, about why, but that's why I am there, for exactly the reason that you stated, as a representative of the select board on that committee.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Mike.
Sure, absolutely. I'll accept a motion to appoint Steve Castle to the EDIC for the slot, knowledgeable in municipal government, for a term expiring next June 30th, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Steve Castle to the Economic Development Industrial Corporation to the slot designated for someone knowledgeable in municipal government, a term expiring on 6/30/2021.
second,
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a quick, we approved the minutes, and in the minutes it said Mike Curry, 1 year, 6/30/2021.
Okay, great. And now that the memory's coming back to me, I think that we also need to reappoint. Did we reappoint, looking at the minutes, did we reappoint a chair and a vice chair?
Just Glenn Eaton, you and Glenn Eaton. Glenn-
Okay. I think Amanda stays on as chair.
We appointed Peter Haley as chairman,
As chair. Okay, then she was the vice chair. I'm sorry.
but he hasn't gotten back to me on his reappointment yet, so he might be on the next
Okay.
meeting.
Oh,
Right.
that's confusing. Did Amanda step down? Because she was chair and then April Cover was vice chair. So did Amanda step
No, I
down?
thought it was the other way around. I thought we yeah, now I'm confused, but
No, Amanda,
between the two.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please.
if you check the minutes of May 27th, Peter Haley was appointed and he was made vice chair.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification, Jeff.
Okay, we're gonna move on unless there are any other questions on that. We've at least got our business at hand done and appointed Steve.
Was
Before
there a
we have-
vote?
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Was there a vote? I didn't hear the vote.
No, there wasn't yet.
It
Okay,
wasn't. Okay. Sorry about that.
thanks.
I think we were in discussion. You're right. Terry made the motion, and Jeff made the second, correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right, not hearing any further discussion on the motion to appoint Steve Castle to the EDIC Corporation or the Economic Development Industrial Corporation to the slot designated for someone knowledgeable in municipal government for a term expiring on June 30th of 2021. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes,
Tim?
yes,
Julie?
Yes,
Terry?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Okay. We are up to, so we're gonna have two items before we go, we dive into the liquor licenses. We're gonna first have the poll hearing with Tom Berry and then Julie Lisenbe. Yeah, hopefully I got it right again. We're gonna have that. So at this point, I make a motion to open a poll hearing for the Carruth Road poll request.
second,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on opening the poll hearing for Carruth Road? Hearing none. On the motion to open the poll hearing, how do you vote, Jeff?
yes,
Tim?
yes,
Julie?
yes,
Terry? Terry?
sorry, I must have pressed the wrong button. Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. Okay. Okay, Tim, when we have a variety of different poll, whether it's a poll hearing, sign, variety of different ones. Basically, they are all going to follow the same. We have a presentation, then we have any kind of contrary position, any discussion or questions from the board. Finally, I'll ask for a recommendation from the petitioner. We'll close the poll or come out of the poll hearing and then have a formal vote. So at this time, Mr. Berry, good evening. If you could present your petition.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good to be here. First of all, I want to congratulate the two new board members. Well, one old, one new. My name is Tom Berry. I'm the light superintendent for the light department. And we're looking to put a pole in on Carruth Road for a new home to be built on a parcel of land known as Lot 6. Which is across from house number 98, Carruth Road. We're looking to just put a pole midspan between two existing poles, between pole number 21 and 22. We'd number that one 21.5. This would be a joint owned pole with Verizon. And the reason for this pole is to provide service to electric service and possibly telephone and cable to the home on lot 6 or 6A as I have it in the drawing. The existing poles just aren't in real good positions to come off of to feed that lot. The home's going to be about 1,000 feet off the road. So we're going to have to run the high voltage across. And in order to do that, we'd rather not have to cross the driveway or anything like that. So that's basically the reason for the poll.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Julie, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Tom, for being so patient through the other things we were discussing. I move to approve the installation of one 40-foot utility pole and 1 acre on Carruth Road as presented.
Julie, we just have questions in this. We are going to come out of the poll hearing in order to do that.
My apologies. I was
Yep.
a little too quick on that.
Roger, I understand. Okay, Tom, thank you very much. Is there anyone online with a contrary position or would have a different recommendation to how the plan has been described by Tom? And I do have the documents up on the board to show the placement of the existing poles and the proposed pole.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, there
Go ahead,
was
Mr. Terenzini.
some comments that we received. They were kind of half part, some for Tom, some for me. I would ask Tom to address that gentleman's concern, if he can recall that.
Yes, I can. It was from the resident at number 90 Carruth Road. I've got the email up here. He had 3 questions. He said he was considered an abutter. What happens is I get an abutters list from the assessor's office and they look out, I don't know if it's 500 feet or 1,000 feet from the proposed location, and they notify any landowners or abutters in that area. And he was one of them, and he was questioning why he was considered an abutter. Because a couple of years ago, we had installed a pole to service a private road, Valentine Road, and he didn't receive notification of that. And I replied back to him, I explained that was because it was on the private road and not on the town road layout. So no public hearing was required because it was private property. And his third question was, he had saw that there was a pole across the street from the location that I'm looking to put this pole, and that one is also on private property, and that is going to service lot 6. But the pole that we're talking about tonight has not been installed yet. And those
Thank you.
were the questions that he had toward me.
Thank you, Tom. I just want to make sure that the board was aware of it and that the property owner, as you pointed out to him, the board does pay attention to those questions from abutters, and I just want to make sure that we got that into the record. So, thank you. That was the only comment that we'd received, Mr. Chairman, in this office.
Great. Are there any board questions for Tom? Okay, hearing none. Tom, as I often ask you, what's your recommendation?
I would ask that you approve placement of this pole.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion to come out of the poll hearing for Carruth Road.
So moved.
Second,
I have a motion and a second to come out of the poll hearing. Okay, hearing no further discussion. All, to come out of the poll hearing, how do you vote, Jeff?
yes.
Tim?
yes,
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. We are out of the poll hearing. All right, Julie, let her rip.
Okay, I'm gonna let it rip now. I was a little early, sorry. I move to approve the installation of one 40-foot utility pole and one anchor on Carruth Road as presented. Once again, Tom Barry, thank you for your patience.
Second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further questions on that motion? Okay, hearing none. On that motion to install the pole, how do you vote, Jeff?
yes.
Tim?
yes,
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Tom, thank you for hanging in there.
Very good. Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
great. Okay, I had said previously, I'm not sure that we had started recording or gone live. I was just taking a look at the business that we had this evening. We've got several of the businesses that are looking for some discussion on the alcohol licenses and patios. Just because we have a very short thing to deal with ahead of that, I'm just going to place Miss Lisenbe beforehand. The board has in their packet a proposal for action on town property use permit. You have an email that discusses her plan for selling masks and otherwise. Julie, if you'd like to, like to give us a quick presentation. So I didn't want to read your email verbatim, but thank you for that. But if you'd like to give that presentation now, please feel free to.
Hi, yes, my name is Julie Lisenbe, Ross Road, Templeton, Mass. I have been making CDC approved masks since the COVID had started hitting us. I have sold over and made over and donated over 3,000 masks. And I am looking for permission from the town of Templeton to go to the gazebo and set up at the gazebo to sell some masks, if that's in your favor, to grant me.
Great, thank you, Julie. Any board member questions?
Oh, my thoughts were, is it legal? Is it something that Chief Bennett would have to look into for parking? Would there be any signs? Like how? I appreciate you coming, Julie, and I just want to make sure that, everything goes off without a hitch. And all your hard work and donation. I read your memo.
So Terry, you had a question.
Is it legal? Because is a gazebo, it's public property. So is it legal? Do we need insurance if anything happens? And then would Chief Bennett need to know about like his parking? I'm not sure. how
So
that
Terry, I
works.
can at least answer some of those. We have people use the common for use, like when we have the fair, the craft fair and otherwise. So people do sell items from the town property. To answer your other question, yes, she would need the appropriate insurance rider. And I believe a draft motion would cover that. And Julie, you're aware that you would have to have an insurance rider, correct?
I did not know that. No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
How do I obtain that?
That's a good question. I think if you call any property insurance company and tell them what you're going to do, they can make a quote on how often you want to do it. I know a lot of them, a lot of the times they deal with a one-time. Carter, I'm not sure what you're familiar with.
We would provide the specific language. If she has insurance for her business, the company that she is insured by would simply issue a rider. If she does not have insurance for her business, it would have to be effectively a new policy. I will say in response to Terry's questions, whatever the chief would dictate for parking would govern. Further, Mr. Chairman, I would add that although you have had the craft fair and the like, the proceeds from all of these events to date have gone to nonprofit or charitable purposes. This would be, in my 4 years with you, the first time a for-profit business, and hopefully it's profitable, would be permitted the use of town properties to carry out a portion of their business. So I'm assuming that sales tax and the like would be properly collected as well, should you grant this permission. The other thing I'll note, Mr. Chairman, is that the request is to sell them during the day, any day during the week. It's a loose schedule at best.
Okay. So hours. I think my concern, Julie, is the use of the gazebo. I have, as Carter had said, I have not seen anyone use the gazebo as their shop, so to speak, and particularly because we have a relationship with the Lions Club. Lions Club does the lion's share of upkeep for the gazebo. They get together. It's one of their volunteer things for to come in to paint and otherwise. I would have a concern of the use of the gazebo. I would prefer to see like the use of an easy up or like a tailgate tent. That way you wouldn't have to worry about affixing signs or otherwise. If you were really set on using the gazebo, I would want some coordination with the Lions. I'm not sure if they were aware of your request, but again, like if you were going to run a credit card machine or something like that and you needed power, yeah, the gazebo's got it. If you were going to use an easy up using the power, it would just be part of that, part of like a little bit more of a refined plan. Forgive me for being a little bit structure oriented, but like just how you're going to deal with each of the items to say, I'm going to run a credit card machine. I'm going to have my own tent. I would like to use power, that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board members have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I'm just wondering if she could partner with Crows on the Common or the library, or if just to brainstorm. And then we've got the farmers market in the fall, would be certainly a place she could sell her masks at the farmers market, I'm sure.
Yep. So speaking of Karen from Crows on the Common has actually, she used the raised hand function. Karen, if you have something to add in, go ahead.
Oh, you can absolutely reach out to me. I am more than interested in sharing some space. We have plenty of it. To set up a table to sell your masks. You can reach out to me personally. We would be more than interested.
Okay,
Yeah.
Fantastic. I
great.
think it's a great time to do it as well. I think if we can get some more planning into this, I think it's a great thing to do at this point. I
Okay.
think, had I seen a table with masks, maybe I might have stopped, but I bought my first printed one that was in CVS just because I was headed to a doctor's appointment and needed one, only to find out later that it was not digital camouflage, military camouflage. It happened to be a Minecraft pattern. So see, I could have used your mask much better, Julie.
Yes, these are made out of 100% woven, the tight non-woven cotton, and the filter is sewn in with the 100% flannel. All three are sewn together, so you don't have to worry about a pocket for them. And there is a nose piece that you bend on your nose. And these are washable, hand washable. You can throw them in a mesh bag. And I have, like I said, I've sold and I've donated over 3,000 masks. And I just did the court officers of the whole state of Massachusetts.
Wow.
And I donated all of them.
Congratulations. That's a lot of hard work. Kudos.
145 masks.
Oh,
And I've donated to nurses, doctors, any frontline workers.
thank you so much. Are you on 2A? And towards Phillipston, Jude? Are you on 2A?
I am at Ross Road.
Oh, okay, because I saw a mask sign on 2A, but,
No, that is not me.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr.
Thank you very
Chairman,
much for your time.
Yes, Julie.
Julie, let me just commend you on all of your efforts. That is amazing what you're doing. And I think it's a fantastic idea. Wherever you might sell those, I will definitely be one of your customers. And people like you are on the front line with people like me, and we really do appreciate you. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Nope.
Chairman, sorry, do we need to make a motion or how do we proceed?
Well, I was going to make a recommendation for a motion that we table Julie's request to get a couple of those items, to give her time to coordinate, whether it's to use town property or she has another idea with another business. But I would table this. I would recommend tabling this to our next meeting to give time to Julie to gather a couple of other pieces of information.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the motion would be to table Julie's application to the June 8th business meeting. I have a second. Any further discussion? July 8th, I'm sorry. Hearing nothing further on that motion.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, can we do that a little bit quicker?
I think that's
Or is
well,
that
I
the
mean,
next
there is coordination. I don't
going
think,
on?
yeah, I don't think we have another meeting before that time.
Okay, I just feel bad putting her on hold for this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Go ahead, Carter.
if the solution is that she works with Crows on the Common or some other zoning approved entity in the area, there might in fact be no substantial delay.
Right.
It's just her talking with Karen and then making sure with the land use office that it's permitted to happen. So we'll certainly work to try to keep the delay to a minimum.
Right. I just wouldn't want to make a motion conditionally to give you, to give the town administrator the authorization to do it, because I think there are too many things that we were discussing. Use of the gazebo, insurance, and otherwise.
And we'll mail her that required insurance language in the morning, so she can have that discussion with her insurance agent to help her move that along as well.
Yep.
Thank you, Carter. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I agree with you, Julie Richard. I agree with you. I would much rather give her a question or an answer to a question much sooner. However, I guess the unfortunate part is I think we're going to be in masks for a lot longer. So waiting, even if we need to make a decision on July 8th, I still think it's going to be a valid business plan for Julie moving forward. It's not going to end. We're in discussion. I see Karen's got her hand up. Go ahead, Karen.
Yes, definitely, Julie, reach out to me. We are fortunate to have been very busy with takeout traffic. We will not be opening to the public until this COVID crisis is over, unfortunately. So we will continue with outdoor seating. And we would love to have you set up a table in our yard, or set up some kind of a booth. We're very busy, obviously, on Saturdays and Sundays. And you can reach out to me at Karen at Crows on the Common, and we can start something together, almost immediately.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Karen.
Sure.
We're still in comments. Mr. Scott Dill has a question. Is the permit for use of town property finished yet? Could this be posted on the town's website to avoid confusion for the public for use of town property? We have for use of parks and playground. Carter, I think you're aware of that one.
Yeah, Ms. Brooks had been handling that. That was not completed when her term came due. So we have that on our tick list to try to get that done within the next 45 days.
Right. I'll lend my keyboard to that effort. Okay. For Julie's business at hand, is there any other discussion? Very good discussion. Still positive, but the motion is to table this until July 8th. Okay. On that motion, how do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well.
best of luck.
Julie, I think a lot of positive things came out of this evening. So good luck to you. And whether we see you on July 8th or not, we'll be looking.
Thank you all so much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, moving on in our agenda, we are up to the extension of premises for liquor licenses. I know that we've got a lot of attendees this evening. Carter, how would you like to proceed?
My suggestion is that we walk through each one. If we have the applicant with us tonight, there may be some questions. Alexandra and Tom will have some suggestions. And then virtually all of them are, as we anticipated, in a bit rough form. So over the next day or two, we'll be reaching out to whoever you approve tonight to get in here, and we'll help them draw a sketch plan on assessing maps with satellite views that we can staple to the final license to be granted.
Okay.
And I will say that in some cases, you're going to find council suggesting that it might not fit the expanded or looser regulation, but we have tried to work to see how we might make suggestions to make it work. So I would leave that to council and to Holly along with the applicants at this point.
Okay. So process wise, in the packet, I'd like to go through this unless a board member thinks of something that might be a little bit more efficient. I'd like Tom to just briefly go over, give us the thumbnail sketch of his memo on amending liquor licenses for patio service. And then Tom, I'll roll right into each of them. The first one would be Crows on the Common. not only do I have their application that I can share for this meeting, but I also have the, I think they're like 2 megabyte photos that I can actually bring up as we talk about each license. Does that sound like a pretty good process? Okay. So Tom, if you could just give us a thumbnail sketch of what it was that you were asked to do, and what your recommendation would be moving forward.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Tom Harrington, Town Council. With me is my associate, Alexandra Rubin, who also assists Templeton on these various matters. So I did send a letter dated June 4, and I think that the goal here was to expedite permit amendments for liquor licensing in order to let people roll out and open up as best they can and get going with business as best they can. This is specifically about outdoor openings. So we had some loosening of the regulations by the ABCC, and what they told us was that at the local level, we could expand the premises that's currently licensed. And I think what's important to understand there is that expansion is a contiguous expansion, so that if you have an interior licensed premises, you can expand outside as long as you are contiguous to the interior. And I think in some instances, you may see areas that are not contiguous. They're separated by a driveway or a path or some such other interruption. In those cases, we can't grant the extension of the permit if it's not contiguous, but we can allow them to invite customers to do curbside pickup and bring their curbside pickup with sealed beer or wine to what I would call a picnic area or the like on their same property. So I think you'll see some of those. Now, the process that we're proposing is we still have to hold a hearing, and this board still needs to act. To expedite it, what we're suggesting is that the board adopt a motion that conditionally approves those applications that you think are eligible and merit conditional approval, even if they're not quite yet complete. So you would be doing a conditional approval and then delegating to Carter the ability to confirm once a completed application is received and the ability to sign and issue an amended license. So that's the process we've laid out. We think that's the best that we can do to expedite this process. So happy to take any questions and roll through the applications with you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Go ahead, Carter.
So for instance, let's say this evening that you find that a application, everything's contiguous. The only thing that really is missing is the sketches, perhaps less than you might want to have for an official record. And they need the formal corporation vote of authority to apply, if I remember right.
That's correct.
So in that instance, if you were to act favorably tonight and we could get that property owner in tomorrow, we would sit down with them, we'd pull up an assessor's map, we would draw the lines exactly where they want them, put some measurements on it. They would hand in the authority to apply, and they move from tonight, conceivably, within 24 hours to full licensure approval. Don't have to wait to come back for a couple weeks. So that is, by way of example, the kind of thing that we're trying to get done here tonight.
Right. So Carter, and I'd say this to the board, town hall is closed to June 30th. Someone sitting at home, they say, well, why are they coming in to do this? When we had Tom from from JK Crossroads. I think what we were discussing is that we've been trying to handle this with public safety in mind, but also very much so to make sure that our businesses are not caving under this COVID pressure. So I agree with you to get the business in there, to get the sketch correct, even if it take, observing all those public safety things to get that done. I just want the public to know that it's not 100% open for business, and we're not 100% closed for business either. We're trying to get through these things to make sure that we have a responsible path forward and being responsible licensing authorities to our establishments in town. So I agree with both Carter's presentation and from Tom's presentation. So as we go through these applications, I'll bring up the application. I'll give, if they're on, like the first one up, just the way that the agenda goes, Crows on the Common is first. I'll give, looks like Karen's with us. Karen will explain the business owner on the line will explain the application. Basically, it's to serve alcohol at the patio. I'll bring up the map if they could explain the map. Any board members, if you have any questions, you can ask them at that time. We'll wrap it up and move right to the next one. All of the businesses, I'd ask you to stay on the line until we're finished with all of them. That way you're on the line when we make that final motion, whatever it would be. Does the board agree with that process? Carter, does it sound pretty good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. I am going to bring up Crows in the Common. Karen, if you'd like to take the floor.
Thank you very much. We had a professional land survey done last week from ZOC, and they haven't gotten back to us yet about where our property meets the town property with regards to the front of our house and to the side of our house. So our draft is, as you can see, it's not the most detailed draft that it could be because we are waiting for the professional land survey to be done. So I guess, as you can see, we can either, and because, we're not picky by any means. If it has to be done on the side of the house, roped in for no public access because of our driveway, then we do it there. If it has to be in the front of our house because of the driveway roped in for no public access, then we do it there. We're not opposed to any particular place. I know that when we purchased the property from the Whittles, there was never a specific property line layout here. So like I said, we just got one done last week to prepare for this, and they don't have it ready yet. I don't know if the town has one that's more specific than the layout I handed in.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Carter.
if I might, what we're suggesting is that once the board makes its decision, we will take the town's assessing maps. We'll turn on the satellite view so you can see where the property lines are. You can see where physical structures are.
Okay.
We'll put that into a JPEG,
Okay.
pop it onto PowerPoint,
Mhm.
and then I can insert text boxes. I can draw lines. We can put dimensions on it.
Oh, perfect.
Given, we're trying to do this as low cost to the applicants as we can and as quickly as we can.
Okay.
I think that we can do something that will pass muster and fulfill the responsibility of the local licensing authority when viewed through the lens of COVID.
Okay.
So I think, Tom, you were comfortable with that when we discussed that this afternoon?
I am.
Now, for the board members, as Karen had in her plan that I showed, you see, I'm showing a different map. She, based on the lot that is in the GIS mapping, you can see the road that she's got there. Karen, what you're describing is basically a series of picnic tables that are
Correct.
either in the side or in the front of your house, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want the board to understand what your plan is.
And again, we're not picky. If it has to be where it has to be, you know, we want to comply with it, what we need to do. And we are not going to open our interior until this COVID crisis is completely over. So outdoor seating for us is ideal right up until, you know, we possibly can.
Okay.
You're
Any
not
questions?
picky, just picnicky.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
I've seen it. I understand what your plan is. You know, I understand that the map might be jumbled, but at least I'm familiar with all of the buildings and everything that we're talking about from the different businesses.
Okay.
I just like to hear the coherent plan from each of them, so it's good. I don't have any further questions for Karen. Does any other board member?
Mr. Chairman, just to go along with what Karen was saying, I'm looking at the June 1st, 2020 loosening from the ABCC, and it basically says that, it says the local licensing authority, whatever they deem reasonable and proper. So if you get the boundaries from the town land to Crow's land and whatever side they choose to go, and the 2015 guidelines are being roped off, taped off or something, I don't see an issue with them or any other business. They're just trying to do what the state's told them that they can do.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask that you put their sketch plan back up?
Yep.
So in the area of the 2 8-foot picnic tables, the town's assessing map that you had shown earlier is actually a little bit more generous to them, because if they need to be on town lands, we'd have to give them a license for the use of the land and have that insurance, which I think is more problematic. So
Right.
frankly, using the assessing map at quick squint allowed them to get in a little bit more seating area without pushing those other problems. So I would ask Attorney Harrington to comment on the 5 foot or so that are on the other side of the parking area. And we do need to reinforce that no matter where they put these, if it's served alcohol, if it's beyond the takeout, like we worked with Crossroads 2 weeks ago, there is that obligation of, I don't know if monitoring is the right term, Tom, but could you comment on those two
Sure.
things, please?
Sure. All right. So Michael, if you just give us a run of the driveway again.
From this map or the other one?
Either or. That one's
Okay.
fine.
This one, you can see the driveway as it goes through.
Right.
You
So
follow the mouse.
right. So unless we were able to rope off the driveway, we can't. We couldn't license land on the other side of the driveway, right? So it still all needs to be contiguous. So if that's the case and we can't close off the driveway, that area of the driveway would be eligible for, someone may have used the word picnicking a little earlier, but you could allow people to do curbside pickup along with sealed beer or wine and allow them to eat there. If it's going to be the full licensed service, kind of the other sides of the house are all eligible. But we can't have unless we can run a rope across the driveway, we can't license area across the driveway.
And Tom, can you speak to the, notwithstanding the loosening of the expansion of the patio, there still is a monitoring responsibility that has to be honored in some fashion.
Right. So as Jeff had just pointed out, the state with their loosening still directed us to the guidelines for extension of premises to patio and outdoor areas issued in July of 2015. And guideline number 4 states, the outdoor area must be contiguous to the licensed premises with either a clear view of the area from inside the premises, or alternatively, the licensee may commit to providing management personnel dedicated to the area. So it's an either or. If you have, kind of a good visual from your licensed area, that's okay. If you don't, you can, put a staff person out there to keep their eye out.
Okay. So basically, we would need to rope off, not that we have an entrance and an exit, but I guess we in fact do because of our takeout service and just the natural flow of traffic.
Mhm.
We would have to rope off one of the entrances or exits for public access to make this happen.
If you want to go on, if you want to use that land that's on the other side of the driveway
Okay,
and serve, do table service there.
okay,
If you just wanted to let people pick up a curbside pickup and, eat their dinner and drink their sealed wine or beer, that's okay too.
but towards the front of our property, we would not have to close off the driveway in order to have a service and not the sealed. Does that make sense?
Michael, maybe we could pop up the map again just so.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're taking so long for this one.
I think that becomes a question of what is the front of the building that Karen is
Right.
speaking of, so that everyone understands what area she's talking of. So from my perspective, if you see the house and you see the 2.5 acres back
Exactly.
to the apex of the turn, anything that's contiguous to the building and not divided by the driveway appears to be fair game from
Perfect.
what I'm hearing from
Yeah.
Mr. Harrington. To the right of the building, towards Baldwinville Road, where the chairman is moving the cursor,
Right.
the suggestion is that if you can't rope the driveway off in some fashion, you could always place some picnic tables there. And if somebody called in, had their order, and you sold them, the sealed beer and the sealed wine, that could be a supplemental opportunity, because they would just park, pick their stuff up and walk over to the picnic table.
Right.
So it's not necessarily you have to do it all or one way or the other.
Okay.
You may want to consider the opportunity of doing a little bit of both, depending upon the land area and your ability to manage it.
Okay, great. Do you suggest that I wait for our professional land survey to be done, or will you?
No,
My suggestion is you go with our town assessing map so we can get you moving along as quickly as possible.
That's great, because it could take a while from them.
okay. I
Fantastic.
think we've exhausted the discussion on crows, so I'm satisfied if that,
Yep.
If anyone else had any other questions, I'd like to move on to, I believe, Templeton, Templewood is next.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely, Karen, thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, who do we have tonight representing Templewood?
Rena Amajon. Good evening.
Good evening. Is it
It's Rena.
Rena? Okay, there you are. Okay, I was trying to find you in the box. Rena, I've got your application up right now. I'll if you want to just describe what you're going to do, and then I'll bring your map up as well.
Okay. Well, the clubhouse is closed to the public, and we have one window where we collect green fees and where we would sell a beer, or we have snacks, nachos. packaged, everything's packaged that we sell for food. And, you know, either at the end of the round or in between the round, people would come and purchase a beer or wine. We're going to stay away from mixed drinks for now during COVID, just because we don't want the pouring in the, you know, the open paper cups and stuff. We're going to have everything closed. And we were interested in the patio area. It's a different sketch that I provided. And then I did open the lawn area just because I thought social distancing, you know, if it was 2 people or 4 people, they could be seated far apart that way. You don't have that sketch, the one?
I'm not sure. If we do, it's not in the packet. Hold on a sec.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, go ahead.
the one that you have up on the screen was the original application. That's the one we need to disregard.
Okay,
And then I had sent the second one for patio only in your email,
okay.
just on this one.
What day did you send that, Holly?
I'll forward that to you again right now.
Amendment. No, that's the amendment.
Holly, was
But
that the email with the 6 attachments?
Yes, it was.
Oh, with the photos.
Nope, the one before that. With the 6 license information attachments.
I think I had that. 24th. I just need to know what day it was. And that's going to have the map that she needs to say.
I believe it was the 22nd.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the I have the application, but I'm not seeing the
Mike, it came through. The one I have is Monday, 2:14 PM. I'm going to forward this to you right this minute.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out to the board at 1:38 PM from Holly on Monday, the 22nd. There are 6, I believe, in total attachments.
Mike, we've got it teed up if you want us to share our screen.
I've got it. So the file I'm going to put golf patio only.
Correct.
I've got it. Yep. All right. I'll be bringing it up in a sec.
Thank you.
All right. Here we go. How's that? Does that work?
Perfect, yes. And the clubhouse is all closed off, but right where it says that 34 feet, we have a real good view of the patio from right there. And then this where it says entrance, it's like a sunroom and it's all open. And they would come in there and purchase their beer or wine and then sit on the patio. And it's just like an all open area. The patio's all cement. We have 6 tables there. I highly doubt we'll have, you know, more than 12 people out there at a time. It's not, you know, a big thing for people to sit and stay very long. They'll have 1 or 2 drinks and then they go on somewhere else, or they go to the back 9 to play golf.
Thank you, Rena. Any board questions? Okay, hearing none. I don't need any further. I think you've got a good plan there, Rena. I appreciate that. Sorry for taking some extra time to pull up your amendment there.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I believe that council needs to provide you some advice.
Okay.
with respect to the cart path
Right, so.
and the 2 options.
Yeah, so I think the simplest way to think about this is we're on whatever we're doing, you know, whatever premises we're looking at, we're gonna attach, we have a length of rope and we need to attach each end back to the premises. So if we can block off the cart path on either side and make it one continuous rope line all around the lawn area, we can include the lawn area. If we can't do that, then we would be licensing the patio and treating the lawn area, you know, like the picnic area where they could do curbside takeout out to the lawn area, but it can't have, you know, the table service.
What do you think of that, Rena?
Okay, that will work. Whatever you feel is best. I mean, like I said, I don't foresee a lot of people in the area. You know, we're so strict right now about how many people go out at a time, and it's groups of 4, and we don't have any shotgun starts as far as golf, so there's never large crowds. And all our tournaments, our tea times, you know, all our groups are tea time, so we don't have a lot of people hanging around. So that will work.
Mr. Chairman, with respect, may I ask which would work? Because Tom laid out 2 options. One was to have the rope continue across the cart path on both sides, making it fully contiguous. And the other was to basically leave the cart path where it is, and to treat the lawn area, perhaps some picnicking, using the carry-out provision. And I just want to make sure that, well, you have Ms. Amadon with you, we're clear as to which of those options she liked the best when she said that would work.
Rena, do you have a preference?
We could do carry out for both areas. We don't have to do any table service. I mean, if anything, they would, you know, pick up after, but and we'd have rubbish provided, so we don't even have to pick up that afterwards either.
So, Mr. Chairman, if they're doing food and beer and sealed beer and wine, do they need a license under this provision? Do they need a license extension?
Tom, it wouldn't seem that they would if it's basically like we were talking with Tom from JK's. It wouldn't seem they would order it inside and carry it out or.
Right, yeah, the curbside pickup, as long as we understand that what they're picking up is sealed beer and sealed wine.
And they can still drink it on our patio or our lawn area.
Yes,
Correct.
they can.
As long as
Right.
it's sealed.
So the country club can serve on the patio, and anybody could get their carry-out food, sealed beer, sealed wine, and eat it on the patio, as long as that's agreeable with the club. And then the lawn area would be treated as a picnic area, as we've laid out for both Tom at Crossroads in his application, and discussed earlier with Crows. Is that, Tom, what I'm hearing?
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to close it and say it's all curbside. Rena, I'd definitely make sure that you use the patio. It's basically a win-win scenario. The type of business that you're talking about, you can have that to curbside to go sealed containers go to the lawn area, and you could also have the flexibility to serve customers whatever type of beverage on the patio, as long as it was all roped off and the cart path was the cart path's open and you're roping off your patio.
And if we weren't to serve anybody, if it was all carry out,
Then you wouldn't need what we're talking about tonight.
well, I'd like to probably go with that instead of serving.
Okay. So Carter, then she would withdraw this special.
You could do one of 2 things. You could table it for this evening, so she doesn't have to file something new, or she would simply withdraw and give us a shell application in the future if she was to change her mind either way, but I'm not seeing the need for her to get any special extension provisions from this board based upon what I'm seeing and hearing. Unless Tom's is correcting me.
No, it seems like Rena would like to stick with the curbside pickup approach, and that's acceptable.
And I wouldn't have to pay the $200 on that other application to change and make it a premise license extension?
Tom, you want to speak to our understanding of that fee from the ABCC? I'm assuming that the town is waiving all fees if there were any here tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the ABCC is allowing towns to handle this on their own. And yeah, we can waive that fee if we wish.
And that would be our suggestion, Mr. Chairman, that the town waive any local fees that are involved in this process to get folks through to till snow flies, basically, or this order is rescinded, whichever should come first.
Right. So Rena, if that's the case, do you want to maintain your flexibility by basically asking for the patio?
No, I want everything to be curbside.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're withdrawing your special application from this evening.
Yes, and how do I proceed now?
I don't think that if you don't, you're existing with your current license, so you don't have anything else to do from my understanding.
Even though my existing license says I'm supposed to serve inside, but I can serve on, I can curbside tomorrow.
Right, so the curbside comes from one of the governor's orders who allowed restaurants with licenses to sell sealed beer and wine. So you're operating under the governor's order and you need nothing further from this board.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Rena.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Holly.
I just want to clarify, does that have to be with the purchase of food or is it just alcohol they can sell to go? Just so Rena is aware.
Tom, are they buying food?
Yeah,
They have to buy food and for the curbside, do they have to buy food and?
We're going to double check, but I believe the answer is you do not. You could just buy beer or wine. You don't need to buy food.
Okay, thank you.
And Holly, I sent you a text about a chat question.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're moving on. Let's see. We are up to JK Crossroads. Is Tom on with us this evening?
I think, Mr. Chairman, when we looked at this earlier today, we only had one question on his application. I think this was actually the cleanest one. They all have to have, I think, their corporate authority to file. The only one that we saw earlier today was simply to put it onto that assessor's map so we could show the rights of way around it and put some dimensions on it and make sure that he understands whatever expanded area will have to be roped in some fashion. Whether it's, those white stanchions with a little bit of yellow rope or it's some sawhorses or something, it does have to be defined in some area once it's expanded.
So what I'm hearing is for JK Crossroads, and I've got the sketch up there right now. Based on what we've already done with Tom, this is a sufficient enough sketch to be able to say, this is what I'm doing. This is my contiguous space in addition to his patio.
Yeah, we just need to get it onto that assessor's map and show the perimeter and note that it's going to be roped in some fashion.
Okay. I don't
think-
have any further questions about JK Crossroads. Does any of the other board members have any questions about JK Crossroads? All right, hearing none, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Was that the last one that we had an application for?
Game.
Fish and game, okay. All right, I have that. I gotta stop that share and I have to put up another share. And who do we have with Lisa? I think I saw you online.
And Doug Dupel, the chairman of the board.
Okay, Lisa
I'm
and
here,
Doug.
Doug Dupel, chairman of the board.
Okay, I've got your sketch up on the screen.
We actually have a couple different situations here after listening to all the various proposals prior to us. We have two pavilions. One is relatively contiguous to the clubhouse that we could rope off easy enough to the clubhouse itself to allow access out of one of our doors. The other one, which is Pavilion 2, P2 in the lower right-hand corner, that is down near the water. But that does have a secure building that we're hoping to serve alcohol out of to the picnic tables along the water. So I guess we're kind of looking at two different things here under this proposal.
Tom, do you have a recommendation on basically two pavilion areas?
So I guess which is the licensed area? Where's the licensed structure?
At the top middle, you'll see it didn't come out very clear, but it shows club.
Okay. Okay, so, you know, using my rope analogy, we're going to attach one end of the rope to your licensed premises, and then we're going to loop around, and everything within the rope, when we reattach the other end, that's all fine.
Okay.
So can you run your safety rope from club around P2 and back?
No, because there's a driveway that goes through there to the camps.
Okay, how about to P1?
Yes, we can go from the clubhouse around P1 with rope.
Okay, so you can do your table service to P1, and P2 you could do, you know, your picnic area with curbside pickup at the club.
Okay, so they would come into the clubhouse to the bar to get their alcohol, and then they could take it to either location.
Well, if you're for P2, you'll be selling sealed alcohol.
Okay. In P1, we could do mixed drinks.
Yep.
Okay, but they can come into the clubhouse to the bar to pick up their order.
Yes,
Okay,
they can,
Yeah.
but you're going to have someone watching that area.
right. Okay, it is visible from the club, not from our area so much, but from the club.
Yep.
Now, as I mentioned, we do have a building that is in the lower pavilion, P2, that can be secured and is secured. We were hoping to serve out of there as well, if possible, because that's right on the water. It's a very, nice, beautiful view. And we would have visibility to the tables that we serve. Is it possible to get an extension to allow service of at least beer and wine out of that building?
Can you extend the rope around it?
We can extend the rope around P2, not up to the clubhouse,
Right.
but we can extend the rope around P2.
Tom, if I might,
Yeah.
if they knew that a certain number of days of their season were going to be profitable enough to justify the expenses, what about Holly's suggestion earlier today of a series of one-day licenses? Are we able to do anything in an expedited fashion for a series of one days if the town, what would be involved in meeting their needs that way? Does that make any sense at all?
So it sounds okay to me. Maybe we want to just hear quickly from Holly what your typical one-day license process is. But that sounds okay to me, with the understanding that you're buying your booze separately for the one day versus the licensed premises.
Right, and if I may I interject for a moment? Mr.
Go
Chairman?
ahead, Doug.
Thank you. To me, the one-day license sounds rather cumbersome, as well as trying to separate any purchases for separate purchase for one-day license is going to be a logistical nightmare. We're talking, this is a private club. We're not having a lot of functions. We're just trying to have some place for our membership to go to have a couple of drinks. I anticipate probably no more than 30 people, maybe 40 at any given time. I think we plan on being open primarily Friday evenings, Saturdays and Sundays. We're just trying to help our members out here.
So maybe the structure down by the water is kind of the curbside pickup location.
It may be. If we can't get the license extension down to serve out of that building down there, we'll just use that as the curbside pickup picnic area.
Yeah, I don't see how to do it with it, because the areas all need to be contiguous and roped in to your licensed premises.
Okay, yeah, that's not feasible with the road going through it, but we can make P1 contiguous.
Okay.
Okay, so Doug, I put a different picture up there. I think that you're seeing it as well, just to kind of give you the rest of the board the overhead view. This is P1, correct?
Correct.
All right, and then P2, the way you said, a little bit more picturesque by the water down here. But unfortunately, the club road kind of makes it difficult for you to do the roped off situation. So as we're moving through this discussion, we're right behind you with P1. If you and your members are good with P2 being the curbside takeout, understanding what the distinctions are, then at least I'm clear on that. Does the rest of the board have any feelings on that? I'm comfortable with it because it follows the governor's order.
Now, can I also ask one more question?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Based on what happened with Templewood, I feel like we're almost in a similar situation where if we just made P1 a curbside pickup as well, we wouldn't have to worry about roping it off. Is that correct? Or do it still need to be roped off?
No, it would not.
So if we just make the whole premises curbside pickup, we don't even need to worry about license extension.
That's true. Doug, I wish I had been to your establishment, and I hope to soon. You mentioned a few minutes ago about mixed drinks. I believe it would have to be sealed containers exclusively in that case.
Okay, so if we make P1 a extension with roped off area, we can do mixed drinks in that section.
You can.
Okay, and what happens if somebody comes into the bar to order a mixed drink and they take it down to P2?
Yeah, I would have to question, do you serve mixed drinks at P2 at this point?
Well, at this point, no, it's not even, we're not serving anybody anything right now.
No, right. But P2 is not licensed though for the poor.
Right, it's not licensed for anything right now. So I guess I'm just asking, if somebody comes to the inside bar and asks for a mixed drink, and then they proceed to go out the door toward P1 and wander across to P2, what are the consequences, if any?
So my advice, well, I think you're putting your license in jeopardy, because it's your responsibility as the license holder serving a mixed drink to be keeping an eye on that person with the mixed drink. That person is supposed to stay on your licensed premises and not leave with the mixed drink. And I think you would run afoul of your license.
So as long as if we rope off P1 and make that continuous to the club, and that becomes an extension of our license.
Yes.
We're allowed to serve mixed drinks as long as they stay within that roped off area.
Yes.
Sealed alcohol of beer or wine can go down to P2.
Correct. Yes. Now, Mr. Chair, further clarification on the curbside sale of wine and beer. It does need to be in conjunction with with a food purchase.
So for Rena's question, it would be you're buying a sealed beer and a hot dog.
Yeah.
Yep,
How about popcorn?
that's food.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not, it's doesn't say that, you know, they didn't give us a list.
Right.
Okay.
I believe it's supposed to be prepared
This-
on the premises.
Can I interrupt? This is Lisa.
Lisa, please go ahead.
Okay. The way it's set up, and I'm not sure how familiar you are, but it is the parking lot. The Pavilion 2 is 65 feet from the roadway. And where we would be serving would be on the, like, not that we'd be serving out of the building, but to the right of that would be the pavilion, and there would be picnic tables underneath. But with the 65 feet of difference from the roadway, could we rope that off?
It wouldn't be contiguous to the building because you have the road going through it.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Right.
I have a question for Mr. Dupel. Doug, what did
Yes.
we do before COVID? I mean, that used to be a functioning bar before COVID. We used to serve food and drinks, and I've seen what they've done. It's beautiful. They put down nice pea stone. It's like a rose color. They've got safe distance picnic tables all set up, you know, in compliance with the new 6-foot rule. And they did a lot of landscaping down there, and it's gorgeous.
Well, that's what I was hoping this whole meeting would arrive at, that it would allow us to, an outdoor license essentially, and we could turn that into a licensed bar out there to serve at least beer and wine.
What did we do before COVID though? Did we have to get a separate license? Because I'm a member there. What did we do? Julie, do you remember? What did we do before COVID? Julie's a member too, I think.
Yeah, I've never seen alcohol served out of that. I've only been here 9 years.
Yeah.
Or if it was a one-day license type thing.
Okay.
I agree.
That's
I
my guess.
only recall, I've been there numerous times. I only recall it's a one-day license when they have an event there.
See, I was hoping the board would give us a seasonal license for that location, for that lower pavilion.
And I would totally support that. I think that's a great idea for a seasonal license in that location.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news. The type of license you're describing just doesn't exist.
Now, and I don't want to name any names, but I know there are a couple other clubs in town that have alcohol at an outdoor building that is not contiguous to their clubhouse. And they are serving alcohol.
That's likely a violation of their license.
But
And
they've
I
gotten
know
away
that
with
we've
it.
had a violation fine, at least within the time I've been here, Doug. We actually have called on that one. But like you said, it would need a one-day license for that. And we did have a violation before for it. But let's,
We asked for a series of one-day licenses for Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for the rest of the season.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
go ahead, Carter.
So that had been our earlier suggestion, that if they knew that there was going to be certain days over the course of the summer that might cover their costs and be desirable, would this board entertain the idea of issuing a series of one-day licenses, not one application at a time? But I'm wondering if the license can't be a one-day license for, and then a series of dates. Is there anything, Tom, that we could do there that might work?
Yeah, so I think I partly look to Holly to understand what your process is for issuing a one-day license, but I don't see why we can't take an application for
Multiple one-day licenses.
24 one-day licenses, and those are local licenses. I think you can do what you want with the fees and issue accordingly.
Mr. Chairman, might I ask Holly what our normal process is for one-day licenses?
Yeah,
Yes.
we normally have them submit an application. Actually, this club usually does it every year. They have certain events. There is a maximum of 30 days. So they would submit one application with all the dates they're looking for, and we can just get that approved. And if the board wishes to waive the fees, they can do that.
Can I also interject, please, that the Fish and Game has allowed the town of Templeton free of charge to have their swimming program there for over 30 years.
Noted. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Carter. I think above all else, we are trying to be malleable during this time. My overarching concern through this whole piece, as I said in our last business meeting, is safety. That's what, at least from my perspective as a local licensing authority, as long as we're preserving safety, I can go down that route, and we can figure out a way to support the Fish and Game.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is going to be a, I'm not going to say convoluted, but certainly a extensive motion at the end of the day, end of the evening here, because what I'm hearing at the Fish and Game is to authorize the expansion of the premises to include P1, and further to issue 30 one-day licenses for dates to be defined for P2. Is that, Tom, is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I'm hearing.
And then the way, the suggestion from the staff, and I think the board would be receptive, that during this COVID event, we would encourage the board to waive any and all fees associated with this process as some small means of trying to get these folks a better summer.
Yeah, I would be, whatever the motion winds up being, Carter, what I'm interested in is making sure that we have the documentation for it. I'm completely ready to extend the contiguous patio spaces tonight. I'm not sure I'm ready to do a series of, when I don't even have a document in front of me, I don't have whatever plan. We've talked about a lot of different solutions tonight.
Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, I might suggest that they come back to us in 1 week with the 30 days for their one-day licenses at P2, which would get it on your July 8th agenda, providing a little more time for the board to reflect, but keeping that option alive for them.
Yeah, I'd rather make a decision, and I see, Adam, that you got your hand up. I'll get to you in a second. July 8th is immediately behind the July 4th weekend, and I'm completely cognizant of that. I'd like to figure out a way to help them, but at the same time, I want to be a responsible licensing authority. I got 4 other board members. I don't know how they feel about it. I know how I'd vote on it if I had a vote on that tonight. I know how I'd vote. I'm very much in favor of separating out P1 as we've talked through this, but I want to support Doug and the Fish and Game in a responsible way. Adam, please.
I was just also going to add, when Carter's draft motion he suggested, would there have to be also included is to waive the fees in the motion?
Yeah, more than likely for those, and we would take care of that. And I echo the town administrator's sentiment with that. So where we're in the process, we're talking through Templeton Fish and Game. Doug sounds amendable to the roped off area P1 for full service alcohol, and then P2 would be a carry out situation. However, through our discussion, Doug wants, or Fish and Game wants more than that, and be able to have the ability to walk across the road, or the licensing and the authority to allow walking across the road with mixed drinks to P2. If we can get to that, I think that's great, but right now I'm sold on P1 in the contiguous roped off area. What does the rest of the board think?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Holly.
I just want to make a clarification. For the one-day licenses, they would have to have that down at P2. The alcohol's purchased separately. It's roped off separately. They can't walk across the road with mixed drinks from the club. They have to serve them down there in that roped off area.
Doug, was that what you were describing, Doug or Lisa?
Well, I believe, well, one thing right now, the whole club is all private property. So club members do presently walk from their camps along the roads with alcohol that they've consumed on their own from their own camps. And in some cases possibly have bought it at the club and walked back to their camp. We've never had a problem. The club has been in existence for 70 some odd plus years. And we've never had much in the way of any issues at all with the local authorities. So I don't see it really operating a great deal differently than how we've operated in the past, other than getting the blessing of the local licensing authority to do certain things. If we have to rope off P1 in order to make it contiguous to the club, I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. The real key that we're working on here is the lower pavilion, P2. Being summer, being on the water, we've had several club members that have fixed that place up very nicely over the last couple months. We put some money into it. We really had high hopes that was going to become our summer bar, so to speak, especially under COVID conditions. So I guess that's where I'm really kind of trying to put our focus for the most part into that lower part, the lower pavilion at P2. But if we have to work out of the clubhouse and work with P1, I mean, we're going to work with the board, obviously. We always have in the past, and we've always tried to work with the town. And we know the town's trying to work with us. We're trying to find the best solution for everybody. But I would like to also add that Mr. Carter mentioned that 30-day one-day licenses. I don't know how many licenses we would be actually asking for one-day licenses. It may exceed 30. So I really would prefer not to put a definitive number on that at the moment.
Right, I understand what you're saying in terms of not a number. I think I'm not concerned about the number. I'm concerned about how they're issued out. I mean, was I correct in assuming that July 4th would also be a busy?
July 4th will be a busy time at the club. That's correct.
All right.
Typically is. So
I want to be a reactive licensing board for you as well. So Tom and Carter, and chime in board if you need to. How do I think we got the first part done. Doug, we're speaking the right language with Fish and Game. How do we get to the conditions that were described by Doug and Carter?
Well, I've just emailed Holly to see if she can take the motion that's in the package and to try to work through it in real time to reflect the different actions, including waiving of the fee. But I think you have to issue a certain number of one-day licenses. I don't know if you can do up to 30 days. Maybe you can. Tom could tell you better, but you have to know the dates when you issue those. That's not just a blanket. You can do 30 days, whatever you want. And the larger question becomes, Mr. Chairman, the question that you'd ask to the board, which is, okay, folks, we got the clubhouse, we got P1, we're going to expand the patio. That one seems easy peasy, but how does the board feel about issuing this sort of blanket series of up to 30 one-day licenses down at P2? And I think that you need to know the sentiment of the board before we spend a lot of time trying to craft that into a motion that simply may not be, the board might not be agreeable to.
So,
Mr.
Carter, when
Chairman.
you say 31, Carter, when you say 31-day licenses, that could be Monday through Friday, 7 days a week for a whole month.
Or it could be, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for July and August and September. I mean, Holly's telling me that there's a 30-day maximum.
Okay.
I'm hearing that they can apply for them in one application, especially given the circumstances. But I would think you would still need to know what the days are, because we have to be able to keep, we're not looking to be the police driving the cruisers.
I
through
understand.
Jenny,
I know.
but we still need to know, oh, geez, guys, it's July 20th, but your one-day licenses were the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th. Please don't do this again. We have to have some sort of record of what the licensed days are. It can't just be a blanket 30 days and they punch the ticket each time they use a day.
Let me ask a question to Doug or Lisa. Does Friday, Saturday, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, do you have like a rhythm of service where like those nights are like your more busy nights? Therefore, we could say the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday of every week within this month. That way, we get down to a determinate day and number. Does that help you?
I believe it would. Friday, Saturday, and Sundays are primarily our busiest times. I believe, is that correct, Lisa?
All right. Well, I think we're getting somewhere because that seems logical to me.
That's going to cover you might want to add in there, if that's, I'd have to look at the calendar to count days up, but you might want to add the 4th of July, which I think is being celebrated on July 6th nationally. And you might want to add Labor Day.
Now, is it my understanding that if we say Friday, Saturday, Sunday under one permit, that uses one day? Or is
No.
that uses 3
Friday,
days?
Saturday, Sunday is 3 days.
3 days,
If
okay.
I understand correctly. Tom, can you?
Can I ask a question as well?
Hang on, Tom, go ahead and answer his question.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Lisa or.
That is correct. A day is a calendar day. It's not a 24-hour time period. It's a calendar day. I'm wondering, it sounds like, why are we not just using this kind of like as a picnic, bring BYOB area?
Well, it may come down to that, but right now that's restricted to sealed beer and wine, and I believe that we'd like to be able to serve mixed drinks down there.
Oh, okay.
If we can allow mixed drinks across the road down there, then that would be fine. But we'd like to be able to utilize that building after all the work.
Can I ask for some clarification?
Yeah, who's speaking right now?
This is Lisa from the club.
Go ahead.
Initially, it started out because we did want to apply for a permanent one. So I had called the Liquor Commission, the ABCC, and they told me to go ahead and apply. He said, I don't see that a problem at all, once we allowed for the COVID-19 and that sort of thing. So, and he didn't see that as a problem, but he said I still had to go through the town, and then we got the information on the immediate license. So I'm a little confused as to, where it was going to be asked permanently regardless. So I just don't know how that works. That's why I'm a little confused.
Lisa?
Okay. Yes.
So what you're talking about is a permanent extension of premises application that you would go
Correct.
on the ABCC, fill out the complete application there, pay the $200 fee, then you bring it
I
to
have
us.
all that.
We go through
Okay.
the board approves it, and we send it in, and the ABCC will
Okay.
come out, and it might take a month or so. And that's what
Okay.
you probably should do, and that's what Doug would probably be looking to do, especially for P2, to always be able to have
Correct.
beverages sold down there separately. But that's
Correct.
a completely different thing. This is a temporary, and there's some different
Okay.
rules that go with it.
Okay, so this would just be, okay. I just wanted to clarify because I didn't know if, I don't want to use the word friction, but, if that would affect our long-term goal as well with the town.
I don't see that affecting it. I think we're getting to a point where we're able to support what your needs are.
Okay.
So again, we've already talked about P1 in contiguous space. Where we're at now
Okay.
is talking about definable days. So there's approximately 12 a month, your Friday, your Saturday, and Sunday. And then there's a couple wild card days where it's Labor Day or 4th of July or otherwise. What if we settled on a number tonight of 15 within that motion? And Carter, I need help with that. That would basically take care of your P2 situation for the number of licenses that you would need to do what it is that you're asking of this licensing authority. What do you think of that, Doug?
I like 30 better. But I guess I still have a question that I guess goes back to Tom again now. If we serve out of the clubhouse, is mid-sprint allowed to be carried across the road to P2 or not?
No,
No, okay.
unless you have a rope that connects P2 to the
Right.
clubhouse.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Carter, go.
I was just at a pub last night in another community, and at every exit, it was clearly marked, no alcohol beyond this point. And you have a licensed premise, whether it has a rope around it, it's enclosed by 4 walls, period, end of story. If somebody walks out of there and toddles down the road with a mixed drink in your hand, technically that's a violation for which the license holder is responsible. So my suggestion here is that you deal with P1 as an extension. The board determine what, if any, number of one-day licenses it's agreeable to at P2. And after you get through COVID, let the club apply for more permanent licensing so that no ABCC inspector drives in there this summer to watch somebody toddling down the roadway with a drink in their hands.
Mr. Chairman,
Jeff, please.
yes, and I would pose this question to the club as well. I'm prepared to give them their roped off area for P1. I'm also prepared to, and I'm comfortable with this. I live right down the street from them, to give them their one-day licenses for the 4th of July weekend, waive the fees, their one-day licenses for whatever nights he might want. The 3rd is a Friday, the 4th is a Saturday, the 5th a Sunday, and the 6th is a Monday. He would know what days there would be busiest on the 4th of July, and put them on the agenda for the 8th, and would give the club time to look at a calendar, figure out the weekends, how many days they want, 3, 2, 4, whatever, and come back to us and give them the 30-day max, if that's what the number is, to get them going and late into the summer. And then how many days they want, we figure that out in another meeting in August, we extend them out again to get them up and running. I don't recall there ever being any real big problems, if any, with the club, the many special licenses and outings and stuff that they have up there. So if that's amendable to the club, give them their P1 extension and give them 3, 4 one-day licenses for the 4th of July weekend, and put them on the agenda for the 8th, and they can come in and maybe that gives them a little time to have a better plan as far as the dates and the days and the numbers of one-day licenses they want. And I would be amendable to waive the fees for the entire summer. We didn't put them in this predicament. The state did, the COVID did, and they're just trying to survive. And they're the biggest taxpayer in the town, and we should be helping out all the businesses, small businesses alike. I mean, they're the backbone. They pay taxes. We're looking for, I mean, it's a win-win for everyone.
Thank you, sir. I like the way that you presented that. Thank you.
Well said, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice. All right. I'd like to move forward with the way that Jeff presented it. It sounded, Doug, you were amendable to how he laid it out.
I am. I think
All
Lisa
right.
is as well.
Lisa, go ahead. You raised your hand.
I was just going to say I appreciate that and thank you.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to the next premises. Thank you, Fish and Game.
Thank you.
All right, we've done Crows, we've done Crossroads, we've done Fish and Game, we've done Templewood as a revoke, not a revoke, that poor choice of words, as a withdraw. Otter River Sportsman. Do we have anyone on for Otter River Sportsman?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep. Go
I
ahead, Julie.
apologize. I apologize. If I can just go back to the Templeton Fish and Game quickly.
Okay.
I do agree with Jeff on most of what he stated. I also agree with Lisa that they may want to look at the possibility of a second liquor license. In the middle of all of this, they may want to look at getting a second liquor license if the possibility comes up and there are enough in town, so that they don't have to go through this again or continuously each year go for 1, 2, 3 day, 1 day liquor licenses. It might be easier for them just to consider going for 2 liquor licenses for that premises because of the way of the layout. Just my
It'd be a separate
suggestion.
license for, no, it'd be a separate license for P2, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, all right, we'll have to look into that possibility.
It's just a thought, and it's just a suggestion on my part that might get rid of a lot of confusion in the future. If you have a license for P2, you have a license for your club that covers P1, you might be okay.
Right, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
All right, just a suggestion, and thank you, Mike, for letting me just jump back to that. I apologize.
Yep, no problem. Okay, folks, I've got 8:51 p.m. We are now into Otter River Sportsman's temporary extension of premises. Adam, what's up?
I don't think we have anybody for Candlelight or Otter River.
We do not. But the way that the motion will wind up, so what we've got here is their plan. Tom's able to say, yeah, it's not contiguous, or yeah, it's good, I've reviewed it. The board is able to look at it and say, based on their application, people will still have feelings. If it's not briefed, I'm okay with that, as long as it makes sense to what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, folks, we've got Otter River Sportsman's Club. Applications from Wayne Cochran. Okay. We have to move the pavilion on the property and home and have place tables under the pavilion. Place to sit that is in the guidelines. Okay, so just pulling up, it's a couple pages. They've got a pavilion and a smoke shack. You might have to pull up the map piece as well, Holly. The building. These are the tables under the pavilion, I believe. Sorry, so it appears to me that they're really talking about the tables underneath the pavilion. The question becomes, Tom, is it contiguous to where they're serving from?
That is the question.
Yeah. So if this is the pavilion, is the main building where they're being, are they going to basically rope off that whole area?
And Mr. Chairman, please remember in issuing these licenses that there's the second test that Tom spoke of which is that of monitoring.
Right.
The expanded area either must be visible from the service area inside, such that it can be viewed and monitored, or there must be some sort of staff outside such that it can view and monitor the licensed area. It's not solely a matter of being contiguous.
Right. So to the other members of the board, I've got the overhead. It wasn't clear to me on the what we were given, the pavilion, smoke shack, and building. If I could get your help to try and talk through which is which.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep, please, Tim.
Looking at the red marking pin, immediately to its left, I don't know what the small structure is. The larger roof going horizontally is the pavilion. And if memory recalls me correctly, to its immediate right and slightly to the top of the screen is the smoke shack. It's been a little while since I've been down there, but I'm looking at how this is. As far as a contiguous area, that parking lot is the natural barrier. To run a rope right across there and around that pavilion back to the building, I don't think is a difficult task. Although it will take a lot of rope.
And the stanchions to hold the rope up to them.
Yes, or sawhorses or whatever they elect to use. I agree with you, sir.
I would concur with Mr. Toth.
All right, so I changed the orientation of that. So when we were looking at it, you had the main building with the smoke shack. The parking lot is over here. That's what Tim, is that about the same?
I
So they
believe
would be serving from this building going over to that pavilion?
I believe you just crossed over the smoke shack when you moved your mouse to the, like, slow down a bit. Come back toward the building. I believe that's the smoke shack you're sitting on now.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Tim on that.
Okay. So that other test, if they're serving from here, how are they observing? I mean, I guess if they were on, they would say that they would have some kind of staff, I would assume. They'd have to have a mobile staff, Tom.
Would we need it in writing?
Well, Carter needs to be able to review and approve.
Yeah. And our motion would support that because they're basically going to work with him for better sketches, and they'd have to answer that question to say, how are you maintaining in your sketch? How are you maintaining visibility?
Yeah, you're essentially in the motion, you're provisionally approving, but the provisional approval isn't final until Carter is satisfied with what he's received.
Mike, can you pull up that map?
Yep. I pulled up the wrong one. You wanted the overhead, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I've got it up.
So what are they looking to do? Where are they looking to serve?
Okay, let's see. We at the Otter River Sportsman's Club are hoping to open with the protocols set in place. My plan is serving light pub fare and having a few specials of the week. No more than 6 feet at a table or 6 people at a table. Masks to be worn if not at a table. We're putting up plexiglass at food serving window and also drink serving window, and staff to wear gloves and masks. Signs for social distancing will be placed where needed to be, all be outside as stated. So and then she apologized for the printer breaking. So Carter, I think that's what we need to answer. I understand what they're saying about the food window and the drink window, but if it's roped off and they're bringing it over to the pavilion, I get what they're saying about this, all the distancing and otherwise, or to the pavilion, but how are they managing that process?
If they cannot stand, so let's say that they're, are they doing table service? We don't have anyone with us, do we?
No.
So if the point of service, there's no staff moving around in the pavilion, Tom, just help me through this in case I come off the rails here. If there's no staff circulating, people are simply coming up to the window. My thought is going to be that the window has to be able to see everything that's going on within the roped area.
Agreed.
If they have a waiter and a waitress continually circulating, to me, that would provide the kind of management control that would prove acceptable in these situations. But simply you come up to a window, you buy your mixed drink and you go. I don't know what the distance is to the far back corner of this pavilion. I don't think that's going to pass the straight face test, Mike.
Yeah. It's a concern.
So in granting any of these licenses, when they come in to do their sketch of where their rope is going, we're going to have to ask them that question. They're going to have to give us the right answer. And if they don't, I think that at a minimum, we point blank remind them that they would have to have staff circulating throughout the service area. I mean,
like cleaning up. I mean, even if they were to have a staff member out there that was, part of their normal staff that was out there, whether it was tip certified or otherwise, cleaning tables, whatever, making sure that the trash is taken out. If they were to provide that,
it has to be more than a busboy or a trash picker upper. It has to be someone who could be serving legally and is likely serving legally, so that they're circulating. They're going to the window, they're picking up that person, that table's orders, they're going back.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, go ahead, Ron.
My name is Ron Amadon. I am a member of Otter River Sportsman's Club. I am not on the board and I am not an officer. But I think if you go back and look at their written application, I think they are looking to serve all from that pavilion. So they would have full control of everything within the pavilion.
Chairman,
Julie?
I agree with Ron Amadon on this. I think they want to serve from the pavilion. Correct me if I'm wrong.
The problem, Mr. Chairman, and Tom, work with me here, please. That's not an expansion of the licensed premises. That is effectively creating a new premise. In other words, you're not serving out of the building that's serviced and then adding this rope as Tom described it. You're basically saying, well, the building was premise A. We can't really use premise A correctly. So we want to have some temporary dispensation to use premise B. And Tom, I don't know how you do that under these rules.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's beyond the authority of this board to grant. It's,
So
these are emergency regulations during a tough period, but we're still dealing with a premises, and the expansion needs to be adjacent to that premises.
So if that's what they're looking to do, The only way to get there, and God forbid me for revisiting this, Mr. Chairman, is a series of one-day permits, which
Mr.
effectively
Chairman,
creates that new
Hang on.
premise.
Hang on a sec, Julie. So I got a quick follow-up question. So we're at the portion of the application, Ron. You were right. It says we have to move the pavilion on the property and have place tables under the pavilion and on the lawn to give people a place to sit that is in the new guidelines and they are comfortable. So your additional I'll use the word testimony, helped us out to understand what they were saying there. Let me ask you, Ron, what do they typically serve at the Otter River Sportsman's Club?
They typically do obtain one-day licenses for all of the events that they have out there, and they will serve all allowable forms of alcohol from that pavilion in their one-day licenses. I think in this particular case, and again, I cannot speak for the board or the officers, but I from listening to everything that I've heard here tonight and the advice and guidance of town council, they may want to utilize that pavilion as their curbside delivery point of distribution.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. That's what I was getting to, Ron. But I wanted to ask the question in terms of expectation. I think, I thank Doug for a lot of his heartfelt testimony about what businesses are trying to do. If they're trying to serve, the whole range of alcohol, that's our concern. But if we do move to a curbside pickup and they're giving them sealed containers so they can go consume it under the pavilion, then that's a good way forward. Julie, you had something to add.
no, I think I'm all set. This is very similar to Templeton Fish and Game Club. We have to just watch the layout and we have to watch what the club is actually wanting to do. My thought is that the club wants to sell from that pavilion, just like P2 at Templeton Fish and Game. So we need to just keep that in mind, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Carter, go.
I don't want to lose sight of the fact that when we talk about carry out, this isn't this is not turning restaurants or full liquor licenses into package stores.
Right.
The carry out is supposed to be in conjunction with food.
Right.
So, Ron being here to remind us of Section 2A was very helpful. But if you're trying to do something for them quickly, I don't see any way but to give them the series of one-day licenses, such as Jeff suggested for Templeton Fish and Game, and then they have a week to come back in and rethink their approach so they can be on your July 8 agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, sir.
There's no way you can license this new premise as a standalone location without going through the full formal process.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please go ahead, Ron.
if I may, I believe also on that application, they do cite that they do have intentions to serve food with this distribution of alcohol.
Yeah, they said that food window and drink window.
Yep, which are side by side. And what I will do is I will get a hold of the officers and board members tomorrow morning. I will advise them of everything that I've learned from you folks here tonight, and I will make sure that they can communicate with you folks at a level where they can wrap this thing up. But it does sound to me like curbside delivery from their license at that point of distribution in the pavilion is the easiest way for them to control that.
Right, and Jeff also had a solution to help people through the July 4th holiday. So I think that is another piece of that's some flexibility that we can add in. But I would agree with you.
Yeah, excellent guidance. And like every club, they're just trying to survive.
Yep. All right, so we have one more. Aside from that, I think we have a way to move forward on that. Any other board comments on that? But I think that we're using Jeff's approach, a similar approach. All right, I am going to pull up the candlelight. I know that we don't have anyone else on. I'll pull up their application. I'm going to go ahead and share it. All right, I've got the application for candlelight. It's for outdoor seating. It's from Timothy Guerin. I'd like to put tables and chairs in an outside area. And I think I have an overhead view as well. I believe this area is in the back of the building. It doesn't say road up here, but I think the road is on this side. Is that the only page they have? Yep, that's the only page they have. Sorry for the quick scroll. And let me see if I can pull up the overhead view. Candlelight GIS. Here we go. That's not a good one. All right, here's the overhead view.
It appears they tick all the boxes.
Yeah, I think this is similar to Crossroads, where we just want to get them onto that town assessing map, maybe with a few dimensions, and make sure we have that corporate authority to apply. This would appear to be the second, what I would refer to as relatively clean application.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I saw both those deck areas, the proposed areas on that side and the back side of their existing decks. So I don't see any additional, I mean, we can basically approve. Oh, we have, Holly, I think we did Crossroads. I showed the, it was fairly quick. That's why it seemed like we didn't do Crossroads.
Crossroads and this one, yeah, I mean, they basically, they were, other than getting them onto a sketch, they're good to go.
Yeah, I would agree. Any other board member comments on Candlelight?
I think he's probably got the biggest coverage because it's all contiguous.
Looks good.
Okay. And I think that was it. Candlelight. All right, so we had Candlelight, Otter River, Crossroads, Templewood. However, they're withdrawing theirs. Crows in the Common, Templeton Fish and Game. We reviewed all of them. Our motion should probably reflect for, let's see, Templeton Fish and Game, as well as Otter River Sportsman. We're going to have some slightly different language for that as well. Are there any other concerns from the members of the board?
We have to phrase them individually, or can we group certain ones? Or
No,
Holly and Alex have been working on a motion, which you should see soon.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
I've got it. So there are two different motions, correct? Holly?
Yeah, I think it's better to do two different motions.
Okay.
So the expansion of all the licensed premises separate from the 1 days
Yeah,
makes sense. And then a waiver of the fees.
Yes. Yep.
And we'll need a termination date. Tom, if I might, do you anticipate ABCC revoking this in any, well, there's an automatic revision in it, isn't there?
what is it, Alex?
I believe it's November 1st, but I
Yeah.
need to double check.
But,
Yeah, I think it is.
but is
too.
there, if the governor sooner revokes the emergency order or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's November 1st, or we leave the state of emergency.
And do the Holly and Alexandra's motions reflect those, or do we need to, or they?
I don't think it needs to.
Because it's governed by the executive, by the ABCC. Okay. But we do need to make the premises aware of this.
Yeah. I
I
think in
do-
the issuance of the license, we include that.
Okay,
Carter, I do have a draft license that has that in it.
okay.
Okay. So I think the only thing that we had just before I go through these motions, did we need to add that termination date?
No, what I'm hearing is that it's as part of the ABCC guidance itself. So we need not add it. But for informational purposes, Holly's put it into the draft license that would be released to anyone that you grant this expanded permission to.
Okay. So the number of the 1 day licenses, do I have to count between tomorrow and our next meeting?
My understanding is you were going to grant, if I understood Jeff correctly, 4 1 day licenses to Templeton Fish and Game, which would give them the week to get in here to file for additional days between the 4th of July and Labor Day, lay out what they wanted their calendar to be. And I was unclear as to whether or not you were going to follow that same pattern with respect to the Otter River.
Yep.
Excuse me, Mr. Terenzini. I believe Mr. Amadon was going to pass that information on to Otter River so they could bring clarity to the situation.
They, as long as you understand that they will have no licensure beyond what they currently have for the 4th of July weekend, if you do not grant them that authority tonight.
Right. So I would not want them to have that. If we're not going to meet again before July 4th.
I would
think
want to give them
they
the
weren't
4th
on-
of July.
Yeah, we did, they weren't on to talk through it, but I think we did a fair job of, whether it's our own comments, Ron helped us along with that. I think we could talk through it to say it was the same situation in intent there. So I think
They could always,
ready to
Mr.
make my
Chairman,
motion.
if I
Jeff.
might ask Tom a question?
Yep. Let me ask the question to Jeff first. Jeff, was it your intention to do 4 1 day licenses until 6 July?
Yes, especially like from the 3rd, which is a Friday, through to the 6th. And for both clubs, Fish and Game and Otter River.
Yep, I've got that.
And waive the fees.
Okay. I'm just gonna wild card it with 5. And we definitely have that language. Carter, go ahead with your question.
So just bear in mind that you have to specify the dates when you grant these 1 day licenses. Tom, so the board appears headed in the direction of extending Otter River the courtesy of 4 or 5 1 day licenses for the 4th of July weekend. Should they decide they do not want those between now and the formal issuance of the license, can they simply withdraw that without prejudice, and that doesn't impact their 30 days if they wanted to do something different?
Yeah, so the way I'm seeing this, Carter, is that the board is giving a provisional approval, but it really doesn't become final and count towards their 30 days until you're satisfied. At part 2, we put in the second motion that approves the 1 days that you would assign the days as part of the license issuance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think, all right, here we go. I move that the Templeton Board of Selectmen, as the liquor licensing authority of the town, hereby votes to approve the application of Crows on the Common, JK Crossroads, Otter River Sportsman Club, Candlelight Cafe, and Templeton Fish and Game to temporarily extend their licensed premises to include outdoor seating and to waive all applicable fees with such applications and to waive applicable fees relating thereto. This vote is conditioned upon written confirmation by Town Administrator Carter Terenzini that the applicants' applications are complete and conform to the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission advisory regarding guidelines for extensions of premises to patio and outdoor areas. The board also delegates Carter Terenzini authority to sign and issue the amended licenses. No further action would be required by this board.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'm gonna check my YouTube live feed. I've got nothing.
Mr. Chairman, a question for council, if I might.
Go ahead.
Tom, after the word expand their licensed premises to include outdoor seating, do we need to add anything to reflect that they did file an application as presented, as requested? Any modifying language, or are you comfortable with that as it is?
I'm comfortable with it as it is.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, to Carter, basically the language there, it says written confirmation by the town administrator that the applicant's applications are complete.
Thank you.
Yep. Any further discussion?
So we wouldn't hear anything? Could we get a little report back of how it went?
Sure, once as we issue each license, we'll provide a final copy in your read book and send you a quick email.
Fantastic, I appreciate it.
Any further discussion? Okay, on the motion for the select board as the liquor licensing to extend the outdoor seating and waive fees for Crows on the Common, JK Crossroads, Otter River Sportsman's Club, Candlelight Cafe, Templeton Fish and Game, and that the town administrator is basically controlling that process. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. I further move that the Templeton Select Board, as the liquor licensing authority of the town, hereby votes to approve 5 one-day temporary licenses to the Otter River Sportsman Club and Templeton Fish and Game through July 6, 2020, and to occur on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th of July, and waive applicable fees relating thereto. This vote is conditioned upon written confirmation by Town Administrator Carter Terenzini that the Templeton Fish and Game and Otter River Sportsman Club has 1, submitted a one-day temporary license application, and 2, the applicant's application is complete. The board also delegates to the Town Administrator Carter Terenzini to the authority to sign and issue the amended license and assign the specific days that such license will be active. No further action is required by this board.
With the fees waived.
Yep, I had that in the first section, but it is in there.
Okay, senior moment.
It's okay.
Second.
Mr.
Okay, I have a
Chairman,
motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
These one-day license will count toward our 30-day total, is that correct?
Yes.
Can I strike the second? We don't want the second, just third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth.
So amended.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Holly, I'll be sending these back to you. Okay, hearing no further discussion on the motion to give a series of one-day temporary licenses to Otter River Sportsman's Club in Templeton Fish and Game through July 6th for 4 licenses, and that Carter Terenzini will then check to the one-day temporary license application and completeness. How do you vote, Jeff? And the
Yes.
fees are waived. Tim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, for Karen, Doug, Tom, Alexandra, Ron, thank you very much for hanging with us. I know that took a while, but it's a lot of hard work. But I think we made some significant strides for you this evening.
Thanks for your patience, everybody.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, may I say something?
Doug, go ahead.
I'd like to really thank the board. As chairman of the Templeton Fish and Game Club, I understand the amount of work that's involved, and it's more so for a town than it is for my little club. But I appreciate all the hard work that you have all put into not just this issue, but all the issues that you face as a town. And we appreciate you working with us as you have.
Thank you very much, Doug. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Julie.
I'd also like to thank Doug. We do work really hard, and I'm glad that he acknowledged this group.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have concluded with the extension of premises for liquor licenses. We are now to item F in our agenda, which is lien subordination. Mr. Terenzini?
Could I ask that we take, I know F might be quick, but could I ask that we take G up, because then we can let Tom
Oh, okay.
enjoy whatever might be left of his evening by the time we get through it. And Alexandra, I don't know if she's in on, Alexandra may be in on this one also, I'm
No,
not
she
sure.
is dismissed.
Ah, she is dismissed, okay.
Bye. Have a good
Okay,
rest of
so
the day.
Carter, you want to go through the offering of tax deeded properties for sale?
Please, this follows on our conversation of, I think, 2 weeks ago. There are 10 properties, and let me just get to the package behind the liquor license here. So the memorandum suggests that of the 10 packages, parcels, there are 2 that we believe the town should retain. And while it is not required by statute, it is deemed to be good practice to have a formal town meeting vote on those. So for instance, in the fall, you might say to see if the town will vote to retain parcel 5-04-30.1 on Elm Street, acquired by tax deed, for purposes of parks and recreation. And you would do something similar on the highway one. One of the parcels we believe should be held onto as having possible value in the future. The 7 other parcels all make some sense to be sold. As Tom outlined to you, if they are not to be conditioned in any fashion, it's simply an absolute auction, then the board can simply authorize us to sell those. However, we believe that some of the properties should be conditioned in a variety of ways. And I'll walk through this. I just want to give you kind of a sense of what the package itself is. So behind that spreadsheet, we gave you a satellite view of where each tax parcel is and who the abutters were, so you could get a sense of who might be potential buyers, and if we were recommending its merger, why we were recommending that. Merger, in our opinion, is intended to try to further compliance with zoning where parcels might be small or out of shape. Finally, dependent upon your decisions, we've given you sort of the draft general conditions for the sale. And we did review those with council today. There was a small change in some language. So we're recommending holding one parcel as possible future economic development potential in combination with some tax liened parcels. 2, being held for municipal purposes subject to a vote by the fall town meeting. 7, being sold with a variety of conditions ranging from mergers or on the burnt property, and escrow being placed on deposit so that the buyer doesn't commence full demolition or rehabilitation within a certain period of time. The escrow is forfeited. If they do commence, the escrow is released to them once it's commenced. There is a substantial amount of work. There's a variety of notices and the like that council would work through us with once you decided to do this. And then the final question is to employ an auctioneer or not. Frankly, I'm not sure that these are not a lot of big parcels. There's not a lot of value here. Auctioneers make money off of tacking on a percentage of the sale that the buyer has to pay. And they have their costs to recover as well. We're thinking sealed bids with some widespread distribution is probably the best way to go. So that's the package. That's how we came to these different conclusions. And we have given you a draft timeline of what we think could happen that could get us to having these things back on the tax rolls by January 1, because as you know, all taxes are levied on the basis of property's ownership as of January 1 of a calendar year. Tom, do you want to weigh in on any of this based on our discussion earlier today?
No, other than just to support what you're saying, and I agree with it. Mike, can I share the screen? Do I have that capability?
Yeah, you should be able to.
It said host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Sean, if you could give him. Sean, are you monitoring?
Well, let me just.
You know what? I think I actually have the ability to do that. So check to see if you can now.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you see, you see the quitclaim deed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is an example of the process that I explained to you. And so what you'll see is, if you're looking down here, the conveyance is made pursuant to the abutter lot sales program of the town of Littleton. And so these are the restrictions that the town placed on the sale of the property. Shall be free, shall be kept free of garbage and debris. Shall be combined for purposes of future conveyances with the abutting property, so that we get it right on the tax roll with, with an existing property. And that such property shall henceforth be conveyed in tandem with the abutting lot and into the same record of ownership. So we're not dealing with, the peel off again. And limiting the purposes: garden, side yard, landscape, open space, off-street parking, garage, septic improvements, and the like. So I know we did discuss this briefly at your last meeting. So I just wanted to give you a flavor for what, when you see one of these parcels, what you can think about and how you might want to condition.
Okay.
And what we've done in other communities, Mr. Chairman, is when the lots are merged, there is nothing that would prohibit. So for instance, the parcel up there on Laurel View, I believe, you know, that wraps around two parcels. There's nothing, let's say that one property owner bought the whole thing. There's nothing to prohibit if that property owner then wanted to split the parcel in accord with zoning to sell the parcel to the other abutter. So once they're merged, they are not constrained necessarily for life, as long as any future splits or uses are done in accord with zoning. But by causing the merger, you do move things towards a better compliance with zoning.
So my only question is the sealed bid process. Could you give a quick thumbnail sketch? I understand the full auction process. And
Yep.
Carter, I agree with your, it's it's difficult to find an auctioneer that's going to take that small subset. A sealed bid does what?
So in this instance, we put together a package. All of the properties are identified. I'm going to see if I can try to find an example for you of another one that I've done. And the advertisement is on all of the parcels. There is a package put together that explains all of the conditions. And then there's a simple bid form. All of the bids are opened at the same time as you would on surplus or anything else. And if you like our suggestion that the abutters, as long as they have bid, can bid as well, then it simply goes to the abutter, provided they're willing to pay the highest price. And I'm trying to find what that package looks like, but that other website appears to be down right now. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to be clear about the process, that it would, if it's not going to auction, that the process would be identified.
And then the parcels come to the board
That was my question.
for action. And because if you place any restrictions, they would then go on to the fall town meeting warrant for action. Because as Tom has explained, anything other than an absolute auction without condition has to have a formal parcel by parcel authorization of the town meeting. Doesn't mean they can't be, you know, in a single article, but you've got to identify the parcel and get that authority from the town meeting. And
Quick
that's,
question. Can I ask a question,
Derek,
please?
go ahead.
With the Pleasant Street one, would that be something for conditions that Chief Dickey might advise us on, or? Because it is a burnout. I don't know if it's a safety thing, or like, for instance, completely torn down. I don't know how would we go about that?
That's the escrow that he talked about.
well, our suggestion there, and 25,000 is not a lot of money if it's to be demolished. But our suggestion there is that the property be sold, subject to the placement of a $25,000 escrow. And if it's you know, I wanted to pick a number that was big enough to motivate the buyer, but not so big as to be a barrier. And you'd give them a period of time. Maybe it's 6 months or 12 months. Maybe it's forfeited. But Terry, once demolition is complete, they get their $25,000 back. Or once they start substantial rehabilitation, I haven't seen a board of survey report on that. I don't know how badly damaged it is. But if they were to pull a building permit, you know, and once they're at 25% completion, you release the 25,000. The reason I'm suggesting conditions on this building is I would hate to see you sell the building, it continue to sit there, the neighborhood continues to be burdened by the eyesore, and you are burdened by having made the decision to let it go without some form of motivation to the buyer to do something with the property.
Excellent. And we did get a message, email from Jim Funicella, who's a resident on that street, encouraging us to do something with that. And I responded to him, it's on our agenda for tonight. And he was happy to hear that.
Yep. And we've already started the conversation as well. I also let him know that we've been we're prepared to talk about it tonight. So Carter, in online chat, Amanda Susie says that she has a problem with the state road being sold. However, it is mostly wetland and contains no area outside the buffer zone, in quotes. Therefore, it will likely not be buildable in the future. I know your spreadsheet said that it was possible.
Yes, the building inspector looked at this from the perspective of lot size. He did not look at it in terms of wetlands or other constraints. So our hope would be that an abutter would buy that particular parcel. I can't remember which exhibit number that one is.
I've got it up on the screen.
Oh, the state road there, or was it Willow Street? She was.
Amanda, you're going to have to give a. So the exhibit name was State Road.
That's A, Exhibit A.
Yeah, this is the first one.
Yeah, the building inspector's opinion was based upon lot size, not wetlands or other conditions. So the sale of the property, you'll notice in the draft guidelines, make no warranty, implied or other, as to being able to be built upon or anything else. If you look at number 11, we make no express or implied warranties. All parcels are sold without warranty as to suitability for building. And if you scroll up to the next page, Mike. It may be out of order, but effectively, everybody is, there it is. There it just got out of order there. The ability to gain any regulatory approval from the town or the absence of any environmental hazards. So we're saying, here's the land. You have the right to what we have on record, but we're not guaranteeing anything. And you are responsible for performing all of your own due diligence.
So I read through the entire packet. I'm glad that we're doing something about this process-wise. I'm satisfied with what's been presented to us. Adam, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring some insight. Being on the Conservation Commission, and with it being in the buffer zone, it would, as Carter suggested, it would be possible, not Carter, but the building inspector and Carter working on this, but they would have to file a notice of intent and get the approval of the Conservation Commission. So it is possible.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Yep, please go ahead, Terry.
Sorry. I was looking on page 2 of 3 on the draft itself, and I don't know if they want to correct the typo on number 6. It says, if you do not pay the amount you bid on the parcel within said 15 days, etc., will become the property of the town of Moulton Borough.
You caught me, Terry.
I did.
Well, I saw it as well, but I thought that was just going to be an example for what it would.
Yeah. I mean, these are draft, but thank you, Terry.
So, yeah,
I should have at least used the Spencer one, so it was in state.
there you go. Or Littleton, so it was, you know, congruent.
Yes, yeah.
Any other questions?
And there will be some changes to that language on the taxes in particular. You know, Tom had some suggestions today, and we would be happy to circulate the final draft before it was out to bid. And you've seen our timeline there, because our objective here is to hit that fall town meeting and to try to get these, whatever sales we make, to get them back onto the rolls January 1.
Yeah, there's the timeline.
So it'll come back to us for just a review, not a formal review, but just through an email?
Yeah, we would do this in 3 steps. The first step would be we'd send you the final draft for concerns and comments before it goes out to advertisement. Secondly, after the sealed bids are received and opened, whatever parcels we have would go on to the draft warrant. This board has to approve the warrant and publish the warrant. So that's when you get your formal, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down, and then the town meeting would have to act upon the conditioned sales, and then we would proceed to prepare deeds and turn those properties over. If we can be a little more aggressive, get this thing done a little bit earlier, certainly we would try to do that. But we certainly had that eye on the fall town meeting and January 1 as being important dates to hit.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the selection on all of these. The disposition on all of them made sense to me, whether they were unnamed areas, just lot sizes, or if they were you know, had an actual address, but they all make sense to me. I'd like to move forward with what they've got prepared for us, because there's a couple of opportunities to circle back with this. I'm gonna put this into a motion. I move to authorize the town administrator to proceed with the offering of 7 parcels of tax deeded land, together with the restrictions recommended for the same, as outlined in his memorandum of June 18th, 2020, and further to proceed with the preparing town meeting warrant articles for the permanent retention of 2 parcels of land as outlined in that memo.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion on the motion to authorize the town administrator to proceed with the offering of 7 parcels according to his memorandum, and to prepare town meeting warrant articles for the retention of 2 parcels. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
And Mr. Chairman, just so you'll know, when I spoke earlier of any inventory analysis of all town properties and the tax lien properties, this is exactly the approach we'll be taking in reviewing all currently town-owned properties to determine if any might be suitable for sale, and not solely for the realization of income, but more for getting them back onto the tax rolls in some productive way. But that project will be a number of months before we can present.
Okay.
Mr. Harrington has been with us for, let's see now, 1.5 hours earlier today. So I want to thank him for his patience in being with us throughout the day and the night.
I agree. Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
And to Alexandra as well. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Is he waiving his fee?
But, well, actually,
Yeah, like this.
now, Jeff,
Let's hope he's waiving his fee.
no travel charges, Jeff. If I can, Mr. Chairman, council did inform me this morning that we've completed the sale of the second parcel. So sometime in early fiscal 21, that 27,000 and change plus the 5,000 that the advisory committee transferred, which we ultimately did not need to use, will be flowing to the town to hit its fiscal 21 free cash bottom line number. And that was probably one of the lengthier property transactions that Tom may have been involved in, but we got it done. Those are the two parcels there with DCR was the eventual purchaser, although it started with title work. Yeah, a lot of title work, lots of trying to figure out how to get it done.
Yeah. DCR really stepped up. They really helped us out and covered a lot of costs for us.
Well, I'd be happy to send any kind of like a thank you note or whatever if you want, if you thought that would help.
Well, actually, I sent them a note asking them if they wanted to buy anything more from us.
Oh, okay, that'll work too.
I did thank them on behalf of the town.
Excellent, thank you. Okay.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Tom.
Mr. Terenzini, let's take her on home. We've got the lien subordination for Pervier and Dennison Ave.
Yeah, this is the standard you've seen the last couple of meetings. We have the liens on it, growing out of the Community Development Block Grant Home Rehabilitation Program. And they're refinancing, but they stay within the values. And we would request your sign off on this.
Yeah, I've had time to review it. It seems more perfunctory than it is any kind of consideration of what type of loan or the property or otherwise.
Yep.
The board have time to review. Yeah, does the board have?
It's well within the loan to value ratios.
Yep.
That are required. The program, I think, requires 75 or 80%. And we're still at 50% even after the subordination.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion if there are no questions.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the subordination agreement for the property at 35 Dennison Ave, Baldwinville, as presented, and for the town administrator to sign.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussions on the loan subordination, or I'm sorry, the lien subordination? Yeah, we've had a couple of these from the past couple of months, so I think everyone's on the same sheet of music and doesn't really require a whole lot of extra explanation. Any further comments, concerns, questions? Hearing none on the motion for the loan subordination at 35 Dennison Ave, Baldwinville, as presented and for the town administrator to sign. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim? I'm sorry, go ahead. Tim, say that again.
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Excellent. Okay, offering of tax we've gone through. We are up to budget transfers having to do with vacation buyout. This is the end portion of the discussion, I believe, Carter. So this is for action based on.
Yeah, this is the a discussion we had with you several meetings ago. We then went to the advisory committee to determine if it was their consensus to support it, because we would be too deep in the weeds and too deep into the end of the fiscal year if they would not. In the end, some of the staff, worked hard to use up vacation time, but we still had a few departments, particularly in development services, which has borne the brunt of the COVID administrative burdens. So it comes down to $15,020 to be transferred from the insurance and benefits account to these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 town departments. The sewer expenditure is internal. We don't have to transfer them any money. They have a small reserve. They'll make an internal budget transfer on their books, but that does not require action by this board.
Thank you, Carter. And I know there was some discussion about balances and otherwise, and I think that's been exhaustively explained, that it was when the report was run, and it was after a substantial payment to, who was the payment to? It was
Maya for our monthly
correct. Yep.
insurances. And then there was a small smattering of other, but the vast majority of the payment was to our one vendor.
Okay, any questions? There are no questions. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the transfer of $15,020 total from other all benefits account to the accounts 122 Selectmen in the sum of $575, 135 Accountant in the sum of $500, 141 Assessor in the sum of $1,910, 147 Treasurer Collector in the sum of $2,140, 200 Police/Dispatch in the sum of $6,000, number 250 Developmental Services in the sum of $2,000, 400 Highway in the sum of $1,300, and 410 Buildings and Grounds in the sum of $595 for the purposes of buying out accrued vacation time in excess of 1 week.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the buyout of 1 week of vacation, excess of 1 week of vacation time across the different accounts totaling $15,020? I think it was a good discussion from the advisory committee. I definitely appreciate them drilling down and asking a lot of good questions on that. Okay, hearing no further questions or comments on that, on the motion for the budget transfers for the vacation buyout for a total of $15,020 as enumerated by Mrs. Griffiths. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the boo-boo on the hot box.
I have to say, you should have seen poor Bob the day this happened. I mean, this was just a heartbreaker. He barely gotten the things, started putting it into use. They were going to get a load of material, and a 10-wheel truck backed into them and totaled the machine. Unfortunately, depreciation insurance being what it is, the insurance settlement is roughly $20,000. We're able to salvage a few items off of the box to reduce the cost, but the replacement cost is in the neighborhood of $26,500. So you may recall that in Article 2 of the annual town meeting, we appropriated about $7,500 or so to the highway department. So between the use of the insurance proceeds and the $7,500 that was appropriated and salvaging some things off of the damaged hot box, we're able to get this all done. However, we cannot expend those insurance monies without the authority of this board. You may recall we did this 5 or 6 months or so ago, perhaps, with some damage to the ambulance when Chief Dickey presented a similar request to you.
Yes.
Without your authority, we would have to make a new appropriation for transfer monies or do something else. And then that insurance money goes into the miscellaneous revenues. It's really accounting more than anything else. It's not going to impact. And regrettably, the new hot box will be approximately 8 weeks out once we place that order, if you approve this tonight.
Oh, heartbreaking.
Carter, I saw them out there. Are they able to use it until they give it up?
I signed the title over it today so we could get the check. So
Okay.
no, it's effectively totaled. Like,
I did see it. They were out there actually patching South Road, and I stopped to talk with the crew. It's a shame, but at least they were able to use it for a little while longer.
yeah, we did what we did what we could with it, but once they cut the check, we have to sign the title, and
Roger.
then the machine sits there until they come and get it.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Anyone on the board have anything else or questions or comments on it?
I'm holding my tongue, but talk about the statement, crap a brick.
Well, let's do what we can to give them the authorization to use the insurance proceeds. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve per MGL Chapter 48, Section 53, use of the assurance proceeds for the purchase of a replacement hot box for the DPW and for the town administrator to sign any related documents.
Second.
Right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion made to approve the use of insurance proceeds for the replacement of the hot box for the DPW and for the town administrator to sign any related documents. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Excellent. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our new business. And I believe that we have one item of old business before we close up our meeting for this evening. Carter, we have some information about the alternate deed waiver.
Right. This was presented to you at the last meeting. It came in, under the wire. You hadn't had time to fully consider it, so you tabled it. We also followed up with CHAPA to say, okay, this is a nice suggestion. And just to recap quickly for the public, right now, if a deed restricted unit is sold, it has to be sold to an income eligible person. If they can't do that, they have to give us the right of first refusal. If we can't buy it, then it can go on the open market. They have to give us a share of those proceeds, but it's not much. And the bottom line is that unit is lost. Under this approach, if the seller cannot sell it on the open market to a income eligible party, they can sell it to anyone with the similar deed restriction. And the basically the purchaser buying it with this deed restriction is betting that they would much rather have the lower price and then deal with the income restriction at some point down the road. And we followed up through CHAPA to say, okay, that's fine. But before we go back to the select board, can you tell us if this is something that the seller really wants to do? And in fact, you have that email from David Gasser of CHAPA saying yes, that the seller would in fact like to move forward and execute this alternative deed restriction. So what we're suggesting in this draft motion is that we specifically do it for this property here, and we do it going forward with every potential sale. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I really think that's the sum total of it all. It's one more effort to try to retain these units as affordable while we work out the other approaches that town meeting gave us some monies to work on the other night.
Carter, using the alternate deed waiver, do we run afoul of any bylaw or otherwise?
Not that I'm aware of at all.
I think this is a good way to go.
Certainly helps keep those townhouses available.
That is our hope, that this will help a little bit, perhaps bridge the gap between today and when we can try to explore and maybe put in place those additional tools that we've been talking about over the past year. The town meeting gave us those monies for last week.
Yeah. And I appreciate now this, it's not just available to us, it's within the packet that's available online, but I definitely appreciate a lot of the documentation that you gave that gave what is the current deed rider and what does a universal deed rider do. So it allows us to really understand what we're dealing with, but I appreciated all of the extra information so I could understand it. Are there any other considerations? All right, board, how do you want to move forward? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mrs. Griff.
I move to authorize the town administrator to cause the preparation and execution of the alternative deed waiver for the property of Christine K. Hole located at 58 Day Mill Drive, and further to advise CHAPA that this board is supportive of offering such an alternative deed waiver to all future parties seeking sale of their property.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Holly, that was Julie that seconded.
So we don't need the language universal deed rider? That this board is supportive of offering such an alternative deed. We don't need to put in those exact words, universal deed rider.
No, I don't think so. You can if you could put it in parentheses behind that if you feel more comfortable with that.
What would you say? Anybody have an opinion?
I'm fine with the motion the way it reads.
I would put in, because it is referenced many times as a UDR, a universal deed rider. So even if it's in parentheses, I'm happy with the way that the motion is, but I would like to include the term universal deed rider as Terry outlined it.
Do we have to take the motion back and
No, you can amend it.
So I would like to amend that motion to include the words universal deed rider or UDR.
Okay, after the term alternative deed waiver in
In both
parentheses.
locations.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good call.
Yep, understood. We can do that.
Thank you.
Any other further considerations? I do have something on the chat. Mr. Bob May says, thank you, Carter, for following through on your word to retain affordable housing in Templeton. Thank you, Mr. May. Okay, glad I checked the chat. Hearing nothing further on the motion to use the universal deed rider and also known as alternative deed waiver for Christine K. Pohl at 58 Daymill Drive, and to further tell CHAPA that we are supportive of using this deed waiver in the future. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us through our old business. We are to board and staff member comments. I do not foresee going into executive session this evening, so if you have any comments, we don't really need to go in any specific order, but I'd like to hear any comments that you have at this point. Floor is yours.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Just one thing. I think it was on May 27th, somewhere not too far back. We had talked about Scout Hall, and there was going to be a report that was going to be completed, presented or something around June 30th. I would like to ask if that report is done, if it could be on the agenda for July 8th.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm actually overdue in sending you a request for an extension. COVID has put Jackie straight out. We haven't been able to do the kinds of public survey on it. So I'll give you folks a memorandum and a interim update on that in the next few days.
Thank you.
Adam, let me let the board go first, but I do see your hand up, Adam. I'll make sure that I get to you. Julie, Terry, Tim.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep, go ahead, Julie.
I'd just like to welcome Tim to the board and congratulate him. And also to the town residents, I'd like them to continue to stay safe, be patient with us, and wear a mask when they can. And funny that Jeff Bennett brought up Scout Hall, because I was going to suggest that go on to the agenda for our next business meeting, because I think it's really important to our scouts that we get that open and get that project completed.
Great, thank you, Julie. Appreciate it.
I have nothing written down, but I have a lot on my mind going forward about, you know, how we treat each other and how, you know, sometimes it seems like, you know, we're in a little bubble in Templeton and we want to keep in that bubble, but the world around us is changing, you know, and it's inevitable from all the reading that I'm doing. In a particular book called Donut Economics, they're finding that the college textbooks, Economics 101, are from the 1950s, which is based on the 1800s. And that, you know, again, you know, to ask the town to be patient with us going forward, to come up with new ideas, new thoughts on how to do the finances in town, and hopefully we can change with the times. And everything that I've been reading and listening to, it seems like we're right on the money, you know, between Jackie Prime's role as the head librarian working with the senior center. It's a little overwhelming for her, but the community gardens, the farmers markets, we're going in the right direction. But we also need to think, and the way they explain it is, if you take a real donut, the middle of the donut is people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, sexual preferences, and their needs, in particular, food, shelter, clothing. And then the outer side of the donut, the outside, is the environment. And everything has a capacity, and the sweet spot for all of us would be a balance between what we need and what the environment needs. And that would be the food, the donut itself, the sweet spot. And that's a big consideration going forward when you think that, you know, a truckload of garbage is being dumped in the ocean roughly every minute. And, you know, people can't even afford in some of the major cities to pay their water bills, you know. Coming down the pike, we need to be prepared for a lot of these things, you know, and think outside the box and how we're going to get ready and change our view of economics and sustainability. And I was very glad to attend the Templeton Community Resilience Workshop that will allow us to access money to the MVP grants, which focus on that type of environmental consciousness. So, I'm very grateful to the town for their kindness to me for the first year on the board. Congratulations to Mike that you got the chairman 1 year under your belt as well. And, you know, thanks to everybody in town again for your kindness to me. And I hope not to disappoint you. And I'm sorry for if I do already. I wanted to apologize in advance. Some people think apologizing is a sign of weakness. Well, hey, I was raised first one to the cross. So sorry for any mistakes I make, and I hope to make you all proud.
Absolutely, Terry. And I just very, very quickly, I'd like to have a shout out to the advisory committee. Another good year of good discussion and really melting into the annual town meeting. I'd like to thank everyone coming to in the community to make that happen. Everybody, CERT team, the moderator, the school, everything, and the people that actually came out for that. I thought it was a safe event. I thought the advisory committee worked really well with us to make it go quick. Very happy about that, to make sure that we've got the right spending authority moving forward. And without further ado, Tim, do you have anything for this evening?
I appreciate the confidence in the town when they voted me in. I picked up my read book today, although some of the information had been provided to me in the past couple of days. There's still a lot of reading to do and a lot of power reading, but I thought I was prepared. I would just like to know down the road, these two other subcommittees I've been appointed into, just what their meeting dates are so I can make sure I block time on my calendar appropriately.
Absolutely.
How do we introduce ourselves to them? Do we write? Did we send?
We send, if I might, Mr. Chairman, we send each of these groups, might take a few days because I hope you understand we're gonna put our emphasis upon getting our local establishments fully licensed as quickly as possible over these next few days. So that's where we're gonna put our efforts. But as soon as we can, Terry, we send each of these groups an email with who the new liaisons are, be it Tim, yourself, and your contact information so that they can reach out directly with meeting schedules and such.
Great, thanks.
Adam, what can we do for you, Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to also add, I know Scout Hall was brought up, and Jackie Prime has been working tirelessly over with the COVID, with the food pantry, and we were working with her too on the senior services restructuring. So that's what tied up the delay, if you will. But to your point, Mr. Chairman, too, I do want to thank all those involved with the annual town meeting and the town election, with its success, and also recognize the CERT team in town. They were there providing critical support, and I believe those folks took the time to volunteer, and I'm thankful for that as well. But I also want to finish off by congratulating all the officers to the Board of Selectmen, and obviously want to congratulate our top vote-getter, Jeff Bennett, and our new member, Tim Toft. And I look forward to working with both of them, and that's all I have for tonight.
Great. Thank you, Adam. Okay, one last go around. I got 10:18. Tim, mark this on your calendar. Longest meeting we've had yet.
Duly noted, sir.
Okay, going once, going twice. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
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 I definitely heard enough ayes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Our next meeting is July 8th Thank you, Carter and Adam, for all that you do.